Hello, hello, hello. Sorry about that there. I did not have my camera turned on, like a smart guy. But welcome to another Mead Quest on Monday with Virtek. Today, as last week, we're going to be hanging around in some Hogwarts. Let me go ahead and chill out this music here. And get, yeah, the game music's going. There we are. No need to overlap at all. Yeah, it's fun times. It's fun times. I'm enjoying it. And also for Mead Quest Mondays, no, go away. It's also a great time because I can just pause the game real quick and chat with people when they want to talk ashes. And sometimes I just pause and look at the scenery while talking ashes. But let's see, to catch up on some chat here, because I had to get that camera up and going. We have, let's see, so... Pockets, you're saying I need to play some Dragonborn? Or Dungeonborn. So, when does PvE interfere affect your PvP? Because I'm fighting another team or player and get a werewolf specter on your ass and they one-shot you, huh? I don't know anything about what that means exactly. Please do tell me more. Tell me more. Crackers, when you grow up, you want to be a dragon. Yeah, it takes you a little bit of effort to do that. It's not the easiest job to get into, and takes maybe a whole lot of experience. I do just okay. I did escape. That's why. I was waiting for it to go away on its own, and it did not do that. Let's see, so we got, hey, welcome in there, Riptide. Sorry. Again, I'm slow catching up here. Had some technical difficulties getting online, and by technical difficulties, I mean I forgot to do some stuff, and whoops. But how you doing tonight? Welcome on in. For those that don't know, everyone hanging out with us here, Riptide is one of my older gaming buddies. Met him back in SOTOR times, I believe. Selling some bourbon? You and I both. Made me an old fashioned right before coming online. And then let's see, practice some good low-key tavern talk to end the day. Absolutely. That's what I'm here for. Here to just kind of give some chill out vibes, and this is funny enough for those who were here last week. This was the view we left off with right here. I think we chatted for a good solid hour just hanging out at this spot. Oh man. So yeah, what about that server tech, guys? Do you think any of you guys think that server tech, for those who are more knowledgeable in both the networking and server and switch hardware side of things, more so than I am, and you guys think that that would be a viable or would provide some viable capabilities to actually, say, stretch from 10,000 people signing on to, you know, a whole lot more, say triple, quadruple that, instead of looking at 1,000 to 2,000 people on a typical server out and about in many other games before they got to start doing weird stuff? Being able to maybe bring it up to, like, say 5,000 or 6,000. I just have a feeling at that point, because it's all going to be centralized around a couple little spots, right? Like there's going to be people centralized around the metropolises, the metropoli. There's going to be people around the dungeons, the raids, the open world bosses, hotspot zones that have specific rare materials to mine and or gather in some way, shape, or form. Yeah, unfortunately, you know what, Riptide? I mean, that sounds like it would be great, but with Ashes specifically, because the server can kind of develop based on how the players take actions, I think it would be more interesting, if anything else, to see how they develop differently, you know? even if it were technically possible to get everybody on one large massive server, or realm, let's just call it, one massive realm with multiple servers hosting everything, I think it would be more interesting to see how different groups of people develop different realms. Just because of where that group tends to like to hang out. You might get one server where everybody wants a pirate port town. And then another one where everybody wants to live in the mountains, and who knows, the next might be a bunch of Riverlands folks with one random guild that wants to live in the desert. I mean, that's also fair. That's also fair. I think, oh, just the scope of everything kind of just blows my mind once in a while, you know? Like, just really thinking about it. I don't think I even asked Reply. How long have you been following? I think I think you stopped by a few times in the past, but I don't think I ever really asked how far back you'd followed. Okay, this last year. Gotcha. Man, you've got some catching up to do on checking out some past videos and reading up on some of the lore and just the occurrences in the game at all. Well, in the game development, I guess I should say. I don't think any of the real in-game developments and occurrences are going to really be starting until at least beta. Exactly a year ago in July. Nice. Yeah, there's a... Oh my gosh, there's a good number of people who bought into the alphas and whatnot, the alpha 2 and on, as of last year. For some reason last year things started to kind of spike up, and then when there was the announcement that they were going to cut off those packages, people kind of flooded in. And at this point they're like, yeah, over 100k. Well, I think Steven had confirmed or made some kind of statement about having 100k, but that was back in like the beginning of last year, like January or something of 2023. And if they didn't add like 25% to their base over that year, because of everybody we saw coming online and everybody that we saw kind of floating into different areas, like as content creators, we also get analytics on our shows, and Chibi and I, granted, our analytics on YouTube are just busted because we have a couple times we took a few months where we didn't upload anything, and at one time there was a year and a half where we didn't upload anything. We were still doing live shows on Twitch every single week, but when it came to uploading, we didn't edit and upload to YouTube for like a year and a half, because in that year and a half we moved twice and never really caught up fully from all of that. But yeah, we finally got everything uploaded and finally started being more consistent. So our change to everything might just be us completely removing the absolute foulness that was on our channel, because YouTube looked at it and said, you guys just don't know what you're doing. You have no clue if you're trying to upload or not. And we kind of fixed that. So our growth may change from that, but everybody else, all the other channels, every other CC we know has also said that they've seen you know, a spike of growth and attention, especially over this last year. And at certain times, even like recently, there's been some good activity. For a bit there, it was kind of stale, but it kind of spiked up here very recently. Yeah, we've got a lot of stuff, and that's the thing. If you want to look at different content creators, I know you were in the Discord server and you're someone had shown you the Copium Clinic, and Doc Burns is just, he's on fire when it comes to making good, like solid, great content. And I mean, it's informative, it's discussion, it's like connecting it to different concepts that you may not associate with Ashes of Creation. I mean, there's some other folks that will go deep, do like deep dives into whatever happened on the live stream or any news that comes out. I mean, there's so many. I'd hate to miss out on people, but I mean, there's Oof. Like the more active people, I'll go with that. The more active people, I would say, yeah, Vladis is active all the time. Chaos and Lace, or the Chaos and Lace Cartel, they're active quite often. The Hidden Dagger Inn, aka Peon, is starting to become more active. He kind of was dipping his toes in for a bit there, and I think he's starting to stabilize with everything that's going on. I mean, there's Stikeno. He's great too. He's great too. He actually just put out an album. He made a rap album with Ashes of Creation as the theme, right? So if you haven't bumped into him, let me actually put that in here, because I'm pretty sure you probably haven't seen that yet if you're just now dipping in. But if you like, and it's more of like the old school R&B type of feel to it as well. It's not necessarily like new school style rap. Like it's from back in the fields like I used to love. Yeah, Stikeno's great. I love Stikeno. I think he put it all in a playlist. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. I'm gonna pause that. I'm not trying to play it, but I'm gonna share this playlist. How does one share a playlist specifically? Whatever. I'm gonna give you song 1, Divine Gateway. Oh, is that that is, oh man, thank you for doing that, because you just reminded me that I need to adjust this alerts to fill the screen, because we did a major change to the size of everything. We made it all bigger and better and more fantastical. Oh man, that's just gonna really cover the whole screen, isn't it? Alright, I can do this. Whoop. And down there. Okay, there it is. I have fixed it. It is now covering the area that it should. Fight is coming to an end. Gotta get that grass. There you go. Hey, it's a taco. Taco won with a giant match. All the fiery everything today. Alright, so where we are. Oh, yes. I was trying to figure out how to copy and share an entire playlist, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this and at least get you to there. Oh, you know what? Even better. I think I just found the list. There it is. There's the list. There's the list. So it's good stuff. I actually have a small little part in there. Chibi has a bigger part. Chibi had a lot of voice lines in there. She was narrating for it. It's very much an experience type album. It tells you an actual story. It's great. And if you watch the whole thing, apparently it's built in a way where it'll loop from the beginning all the way through the end and right back to the beginning again. I only say apparently because I haven't gone back and listened to it do the loop itself. I've listened to the album about twice, meow, but I haven't actually listened to the full loop over and see how, if the story kind of flows together or what. Yeah, this is Stikeno. He wrote a story centered around Ashes of Creation, like the universe, the concepts, like everything that is Ashes of Creation, as if he was a character within that world, within Vera. Yeah, Chibi did the intro, she did the whole narration through the whole spiel. Yeah, wizard. Meow. I'm sorry. Ever since Super Troopers, it just every once in a while it just hooks in, and I can't even help it. I can't even help it. But yeah, there's Stakeno, and like you said, Loreforged. I saw the name pop up there. Who was it that mentioned it? Because Loreforged is one of my favorites too. Because also, since back in SOTOR days, knew those guys and interacted with them. Actually had Sunny on a podcast that I was involved with back in the day. Oh. Bear with me one moment. My headphones decided to disconnect. They should be reconnecting here in a moment. I don't know why they decided to shut off. There we are. But yeah, reconnected with Sunny. I guess I found out he was in Loreforged and got him back on this podcast here. They, by the way, Riptide, they have something interesting going with their guild. They actually have 3 solid divisions in their guild, but they're all going to be in the same the same 300 person guild. It's going to be 300 people at max. They're going to max out the available guild slots. 1/3 of it is going to be dedicated to a PvE division. That's going to be all about the lore and doing PvE items. There's going to be a PvP division, which is going to be all about, well, you know, PvP. Fighting people, mercenary stuff, protecting the guild, all that. And then there's going to be a merchant division. And to be honest, all 3 are probably going to be pretty lore heavy when it comes to just the people involved and the guild itself. But either way, I think it's neat. There was a Black Talon Trading Company, and they decided to. They actually named their 3 branches instead of just saying this is the PvP branch. They all had named, like, each individual guild master for each division is named differently. Oh my gosh. Yeah, you like that? It's our barback. He's putting in work, often underappreciated. That is the barback life right there. Put in a lot of work, make sure everything moves smoothly, make sure everybody's taken care of, but isn't actually paid as much as everyone else. Not saying we're getting paid really, but barback even less so. Yeah, and see, that's the fun part. That's really gonna be the fun part. Oh yeah, that's right, I still gotta do this thing. I thought I did already. Holy mackerel. Alright, come here, buddy. No? You gonna run away? Okay.
Lumos.
Oh. The talents. What am I doing? Oh yeah, that's right, T. Yeah, Warden's PvE, Warborn PvP, and Capital is the economic. And I thought it would have been funny if they had come up with something different for the economic one, just to keep war in the name. Like, I don't know, like the war bank or something like that. I don't know. I don't know how it would have worked out. Just put that one up there. There we go. That'll work. And yeah, the crafting for ashes is no beast targeted. I got that beast targeted.
Do cooperate, won't you?
Daddy Warbanks, there you go. But yeah, the crafting in ashes is supposed to be pretty in-depth when it comes to the system, and it's definitely going to be impactful. And that's the big thing for me, right? Is coming from playing games like World of Warcraft, and I mean, even SOTOR did it too. WildStar did it. Well, WildStar, I guess, had a little bit more impactful crafting, but not quite as much as it should have been, in my opinion. But all of them, they kind of only exist just to give people a system to say that they've done crafting. just to say, yes, we have crafting systems and here's something you can do to fulfill that fantasy as a crafter, but it doesn't really give you the that dopamine, like I'm succeeding as a crafter type of thing. Like it doesn't give you that response or even the capability to really fulfill orders so much as just I made some stuff and I kind of sold it for a little bit over what I made it for because nobody really needs it, right? It's going to be impactful to the game because yeah, crafters are going to make the best stuff, and in a lot of the raids, the majority of the drops that are related to the best gear are going to be pieces and portions and materials and little bits and bobs that you have to get a crafter or three to put together. And this little guy is just staring at me while he walks across the road. But because of that, I think it's a lot more interesting because it's not like, you know, there's a random guard walking around with an entire chest plate like in his backpack when he's actually wearing just leathers or something. So it's it's gonna be much more interesting than normal. And they're going to be needed. I think Warrior is the one that brought up something, a question to me anyway. I don't know if he got it from elsewhere, but about repair packs. How a lot of games have repair packs you can just take with you out to the field. And he was asking if I think that would be a thing, and I would like it to be a thing that can be created by crafters for crafters. You know, have something that's created by them, or even from processors, because right, you're not really like crafting the final product, right? Maybe the processors can craft repair kits because they just put together, you know, a bag that they have to buy from a crafter, but then they can just dump things inside it after they've prepared everything, all the strings and needles and stuff like that, hammers, nails, little chainmail rings and such like that. But I would like crafters to be able to do that in the field, but only the crafters. Like you have to be GM crafting, and you have to be able to repair whatever it is you're trying to repair, or you have to be able to craft whatever it is you're trying to repair. Yeah. Warrior says, if I could summon a horse out of my ass, then that leather wearing guard should have a breastplate in his pocket. That's good. Nice coming in with a raid. Hello there, Nice. Welcome on in, raiders. Thank you everybody from stopping in, and thank you for sharing the audience with me, even though I'm not necessarily doing it. It's just content right meow. We're just chatting it. But then again, you do the same, so you know where I'm coming from. Just trying to chill, play a game, hang out with people, talk about another game that I can't play right now, so it makes me sad. But you know, I hope your day has been well. How was your stream, sir? What did you folks chat about? What did you end up doing? Like just in general. Because I only caught you for a moment as I was logging on. Did you get a YouTube raid too? Ah, my gosh, I know, right? Chibi and I were talking about that, like, what are you gonna do with YouTube? I mean, you can't raid over to anybody. You just say, hey, you should totally check out so-and-so who I think is live. Let me go look at their channel to see. Oh, you did the raid. Oh. What? I didn't think they did. I didn't think they had raids. Holy cow. Grux. I didn't know they had raids on YouTube. That's a thing? Okay. Well, I'm going to take your word for it, and I'm going to still say, welcome on over, raiders. Nice to see you. Thanks for coming on over from Nice's place. And Nice, thank you for sharing them as well. I'm going to have to figure out how to make that happen on my own, too. Yeah, how does one do that? I do not know. Clickable tile saying he's being... Oh, okay. Gotcha. Well, thank you for that info, Greg. So at least that's going to be something we'll have to look into. And by the way, I'm sorry, Greg. Mentally, I laughed really hard. Chibi and I have been playing the first Descendant, and there's a one of the first big baddies you get exposed to and interact with. His name is Greg, but he's got a big demonic, crazy sounding voice, and has absolute murderous intent, and is trying to take over the world and crush humanity and all that. And his name is just Greg. That's it. And I don't think I'm ever going to not laugh, at least internally, when I hear or see the name Greg from here on out for the rest of my life. Oh, well, Samuel, thank you for hopping on over too. Thank you for making the journey. But yeah, speaking of other streamers and whatnot, by the way, Riptide, Nice Gaming is another Ashes of Creation streamer. We were just going through the list of people that have been like super active lately, because there's far too many Ashes of content creators to really name them all. But I was trying to go through the really active ones that you can guarantee you're going to see doing something every week. And I know so far I've gotten through, which was I? You were all of them. You were all of them. Nicest partner number 1. But yeah, we've gotten through ourselves. We got through Chaos and Lace. We got through Lore Forge. We got through Stikeno. I showed them Stikeno's rap album. So yeah, there's Nice Gaming. He does a show, Voices of Era, with Is There No One Else, over here on Twitch. We got I Am Royer. Royer is always a riot. I still can't wait to see the Mandalorian again. That was, I don't know why, but that is a bit that just sticks in my head, and I can't help but want to see it again. Oh, Grux, yes, absolutely. We're trying to get that Ashes content creator partnership. We're hoping it goes through. We'll see. We'll see. Apparently, we should, in theory, if they keep the same schedule they've been trying to keep for a while, we should get some results on that before Alpha 2 hits. So we got about, what, in theory, 2 months, because they haven't really announced a date yet, but they haven't said they're going to be behind, or they said they're still on schedule for Q3, so we can assume by the end of September. So that should give us like 2 months, and we'll know if we're in there or not. Oh, Riptide, thank you so much. Cheers to you, friend. Cheers to you. Bourbon up. Well, thank you, Irish. I appreciate that. I mean, so I'm always one of those, like, I never count my, I know the proper saying is like, don't count your chickens till they hatch, but I always try to think of a way to mash that up. But yeah, I never count the chickens before they hatch. It's always it might happen until it does happen. You know, plan for the worst, hope for the best, that type of thing. You'll count them then? All right, fair enough. Fair enough. Oi, oi. But so Royer, you were you popped in maybe after I covered that question, but do you think, well, actually it was a combination question, so let me go ahead and comprise everything that we had spoken about into a single question here. So the server tech with server meshing, let's assume that it was possible to take every single Ashes of Creation player and put them into one single server. If it was possible, like, assume that it is, like, all technical knowledge, thoughts, and anything that's been explained to you out the window. Do you think that would be a better approach, having one giant server like Eve is, where everything is the same story? Or do you think that it would be more interesting and more beneficial just overall to have multiple servers because of the way that the Ashes landscape grows? And then we would have varied stories across multiple realms. I've been calling them realms just to, you know, separate from server. So different realms. So we can see different stories emerge and different stories take place. Yeah, it is. I mean, my opinion is I think it would probably be more interesting in the long run to have multiple different stories going on. It would be more interesting, and this is the thing, more interesting. Maybe not the most long-term lore-worthy or the most long-term interesting single story, but I think in the moment it would be more interesting for everybody because they will experience their server, what's going on in their server. They're going to hear a friend talk about this node that unlocked this raid or something that happened there that the other servers just haven't seen ever before, and it's going to cause, you know, some dialogue to bounce around. And I think at least, even if there could be one giant server, I think it would be more interesting to have at least 4 purposely created, you know? Yeah, and Proctes, that's the other thing. And thank you, by the way, for doing the agreement with Royer there. That means a lot. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. But yeah, certain people will bring problems, not on purpose. Just as you said right there, it's literally going to be people are going to bring a giant community, and with giant communities, sometimes there's groupthink where somebody of certain stature is going to say a thing, and then there's going to be people around and below them, and with them is like brothers in arms are going to take it up and run with it, even if it was a passing comment or something like that. They're just going to take it and run with it, and you know, try to do something about it, quote unquote. And the bigger the community, the more people there are to kind of pick up that spirited yell and run far and fast, maybe farther and faster than the original person would have ever guessed anyone would. But there's no telling until it all starts, right? But I mean, there's gonna be plenty of people, even outside of the example that you mentioned there. There's gonna be plenty more that do that too. So let's see here. Riptide says more server fractures the community. That can be true. That can be true, but I do have a slight counter to that as well. And Samuel says, I think Steven said 20k at once is the goal. Nice says, I'm so excited to see nodes develop differently on different servers. Warrior, more on the side of lots of servers with different outcomes. Irish Viking support Asmongold. What would be the problem there? Finding bugs. That was kind of what I was mentioning there, Irish. It could be something like, and this could be totally nothing to do with Asmon specifically. But if Asmongold were to be like, hey, and someone was mentioning this in Discord the other day. So I'm not going to claim credit, but I'm not going to give, you know, names or anything in case they wanted it to be like a chill conversation or whatever. But if Asmon were to say be like bopping around and doing his thing on his server, and someone rolls up and on an open PvP game and just smacks him in the head with a hammer and takes all his stuff, and he says, man, that was a dick move. That sucks. Now I got to go do all that again. Like, he didn't mean like the person needs to be assassinated for it, but some people who follow religiously might think that excuse me, might think that is the case. Like, we need to go get payback for the wrongs done to Asmongold. And that could happen with any streamer, let's be honest. Like, any streamer with a big enough community is going to have some that are all about this person and hanging out with their stream and being in that community, and they're very, it's more of a loyalty thing than anything else, I think. Not really a fault of being malicious. Yeah, stream snipe is a thing, yeah, for sure. That's definitely going to be involved in there. Yeah, Basil, no, that's true, but that also is going to bring into what I was thinking with multiple servers being one versus one, rather. If it were technically possible to have one giant server, you have to think that is, at this point, probably going to be, if you were to take some semi-realistic numbers, let's say Even just for Alpha 2. Let's look at just Alpha 2. If you put 100 and let's say 30,000 people, 130,000 people on one server, and you have 5 metropolises, 5 castles, and potentially, based on previous interviews, I think Steven said it was like 12 to 15 or fewer bosses out there in the world, like raid bosses and world bosses. It's going to be a PvP game that occasionally has something that gets mown over by just an incredible mass of people. They would need to make the world bigger by like multitudes, like many times the size that it is. There just wouldn't be enough space for people, like that many people. There just really wouldn't be. Perhaps that might change after, let's say after the initial burst of let's check this new game out kind of dwindles down and the population settles into what it should be for normal. Maybe that'll help, but I don't think you would fit even 130,000 people on one single server the size of your typical MMO, especially, but also even something the size of Ashes, which is a lot larger than your typical MMO. But even something this size, unless they added a lot more Metropolis locations and a lot more castle locations and just more PvE content in general, then I don't think that would work. I just don't think it would. So let's see here. So another disincentive for DK. This is Samuel. And Riptide says, it's probably a tech issue still. The thing with Eve is it's huge, so it can support more players. Even that game has issues when there's large battles. So I can see a few servers just for stability. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they have, what is it? Because I've never really played Eve. I just never really had an interest in it. So I never jumped in. But what is it they call it? Time dilation or something, when they slow everything down to a crawl during battles. It's honestly, I think it's just so that the servers can take their time and figure out what's happening. And I mean, a little bit for player agency and all, but for the large part, like it has to be for server stability, so they don't have so many people in one little area and so many lasers and explosions and everything happening that it needs to keep track of happening in real time. I think a lot of people would lose their ship just because they couldn't make a decision that fast, and they would just crash into something that was flying in front of them, and that would be the end of it. But maybe that's just me. I just think that would happen too often. Let's see. And Irish Viking says, one shard servers have failed pretty bad. Dual Universe is a good example of that. Yeah, I didn't really play that one, so I have no input on that. And Eve is the only example, and the history of the game, even if you don't play, is very interesting. But that is a niche game. Yeah. And to be honest, like, the things that I've heard about Eve, to me it sounds like they actually have, it's really multiple realms that are talking to each other, really. From how I've gathered it, because you have to go through a gate, right, that teleports you and shoots you across at light speed or whatnot over to a different galaxy or a different planet. So during that time, you're literally just being loaded over to a totally different server, is what's happening. So it's one shard, but really only because the story is told verbally. Yeah, it's not seamless, yeah. And let's see. So, and Samuel, yeah, that's why 20k was the goal. For good player density, exactly. For good player density, for good player interactiveness, because it would also be a real big bummer, right? If you had to, as your guild, compete against every other guild that plays the game, plus everybody who isn't a guild, and they're just kind of hanging out for whatever reason, for any of the guild castles. And every single person who plays the game, I mean, even going against 150,000 people in A2 would be kind of intense when it comes to going for like mayorship or something. That's just something that, I don't know, man. That just sounds like an intensely not fun time to me. If you are absolutely 100% like, well, you know what? I know the people who would absolutely love this, and those are the people that are all about like, this is a PvX game, deal with it. It's not made for you. They might be the ones who are all about that kind of lifestyle. Those are the ones that don't like to give feedback on anything that doesn't kind of jive with that PvX lifestyle. Like that, maybe those folks. Maybe those folks. You know, Riptide, I can explain what people want it to mean, but I think somebody kind of put it, player versus DMX. I like that, Droog. Somebody mentioned something at one point, and it honestly makes more sense. It's, to them, it's more of a sales pitch or a marketing term, and it kind of is, because really, what does PvX mean? If you ask anybody that, they're going to say that it means that when you leave your house, you can do anything. Well, if that's the case, then every open world PvP game known to man has been PvX since day one. If it has open world PvP, if open world PvP exists, it's PvX. But that term hasn't existed that long, and even people who are today saying that no, Ashes is going to be a PvX game, it's not going to be like those other PvP games that you bump into where it's just open world PvP and that's it. This is PvX. But I don't know. Is the only answer I can give. Like, I don't really know what PvX is really supposed to stand for, and kind of still trying to figure that out myself. Like, after all this time, I'm still trying to kind of figure that out. The current iteration of how Ashes is putting it up, PvX, what you really want? Yeah, exactly. See, Taco gets it. Taco gets it. But if you were to put the currently announced information out there with zero Alpha 2 testing, so keep in mind, like, all of the designs currently are up for testing and iteration and seeing what works, what doesn't work, etc. If the current design were to be out there, any population that just wants to try to do PvE content, basically those people exist as cattle. They are desired to log into a server and just do their questing and just do their gathering and just go try to do a world boss and see if it exists and see if you don't get your face kicked in by a PvP group. PvP folks, however, they can exist fully in the world with doing nothing but PvP. They can go through and they can PvP from almost day one in theory. Like, we don't know if they have arenas or ways to earn experience doing PvE from literally level 1. But as soon as they introduce arenas, I mean, if you can level up in there, then you can go all the way from bottom to top, right? But there are caravans and such like that. So there is that. You could, as a PvP player, you would never have to interact yourself. You personally would not have to interact with the PvE system if you didn't want to. Again, as long as there are arenas or something that will give you experience. And you know what? Let me look that up. Let me see if you get experience from player kills out in like real world or what, or not real world, jeepers. Out in the open world, the other world. Let's see. Ashes of Creation Wiki. You don't know, just speculating and trying to understand. Let's see. So yeah, PvP always outshines PvE when it exists in a game from your experience, and that's pretty much true. And it's because there's a balance that most games haven't really come to find, and I'm not saying that I know of it either. So don't get me wrong there. Don't quote me on saying that I know what's going on and I can solve world PvE hunger. They just haven't found that balance. It's either too PvE heavy and then PvP players complain because all they have is open world PvP, which kind of sucks, right? It's like going into a PvP game and people say, no, there's PvE here and all there is questing. Questing is basically your equivalent of open world PvP, right? It's just there. It gets you through from beginning to end and that's it. That's what it does. It's fulfilled its purpose. And now you have no more when you get to the end. It's all gone. Except open world PvP continues. It's a slower start, but a bigger finish. And PvE questing is a bigger beginning, and it fizzles out to nothing at the end of it. But yeah, PvP in most games that have open world PvP, the open world PvP kind of tends to dominate the experience. So, and Prakti says it's supposed to be PvP with raiding dungeons and other PvE systems. So, and that's exactly my response there, Riptide. So, World of Warcraft. World of Warcraft has player versus environment systems, like actual combat systems, not just going and gathering rocks, people. I'm not talking about your PvE experience being going and gathering herbs and taking them back to town and crafting satchels. That to me, that's an economy lifestyle. That's a life skill. That's, if anything, it's economic PvP. Because I'm not trying to outsell the NPCs next to me. But especially in a game that has open world PvP, I have as much likelihood of bumping into a player that wants to fight me as an NPC, a threatening NPC that's going to try to fight me. So it's just as likely a PvP activity to go gather like ore. Let's see here, experience gains. I want to fight you? I know you do, Taco. I know you do. You're gonna have to take a number. Just as soon as Kool-Aid Man responds, you can go after him. I don't know why Kool-Aid Man wants to fight me, but took the number, and first come, first serve, so I gotta wait till Kool-Aid Man shows back up at the door. Do-do-do-do. Experience. Okay. Bum, bum, bum. Leveling. Let's see here. PvP. So yeah, experience is gained through a variety of vertical and horizontal progression paths such as PvP, PvE, and exploration. But how much can be gained specifically from PvP? Can you level the entire way? You enjoy doing something rewarding. Okay, so leveling, the act of going out and adventuring, killing monsters in combat in general is the most tactile and moving thing. I think it's a very step. Okay, it should be something that you enjoy doing. It must be something that's rewarding, and it should be something that teaches you more about the immersive world you're in and allows you to follow a compelling storyline. Yeah, it doesn't seem like there is specifically a statement on the wiki that says you can level from level 1 all the way up, but I'm pretty sure that was stated at some point and I just can't find it. So I'll just put it on. I think so, but I could be wrong. I could be wrong. If somebody finds that out for certain, just let me know. Please. I beg it of you. I beg of you. Alright, so back to this here. Cool for the okay, cool for the record. Okay, got it. And Samuel, you can mostly survive without having to do PvP, but I mean, survive is a relative word. Do you mean literally like you won't die? Or do you mean that you'll have a good time in the game and be able to do anything you want PvE wise without being involved in PvP? Because that would be almost literally impossible. Specifically because if you can be attacked in town because there aren't going to be guards that run after you, like pre-built into the game to chase you out of town for trying to PK in the middle of town, then I don't think you're safe anywhere at all. Well, you have literally one place. If you are on your freehold inside your house with the doors locked, then you are a-okay with relaxing. Other than that, you can be attacked at any time by anybody for any reason. They can also try to do something to instigate you into attacking back or attacking them in the first place. And then you'll be free and open to just be slain. Plenty of things people can do. They can just get you upset, you attack first, and then their buddies jump out from behind the trees because they had 8 rogues hidden in stealth behind them waiting for you to attack first. And then there you go, no corruption. And they can just, you know, stab you and take your stuff. Yeah, Grux, imagine only progressing through PvP. To me, that sounds like a dull life, but, I mean, to PvP people, progressing through questing sounds like a dull life too. So I suppose it's more of a, you know, your perspective thing. I would find it dull to just do PvP the entire time. Let's see. Honestly, find when you split the dev teams into PvE and PvP, the changes made to PvP because cheating and exploits usually taints the PvE experience. Usually. Yeah, I mean that's kind of, yeah, that's how it goes. I think Irish is, if you have them split into 2 different teams, they're going to develop like 2 different teams most of the time, unless you actively do something to bridge the gap and make sure that the gap is not necessarily apparent or accessible. But yeah, if you make a change to one, it's going to affect the other. That happens in every game I've seen and actually paid attention to is the key word, because some games I didn't pay attention to and so I miss that stuff. But every time I've paid attention to it, if there's a change in PvP, unless it's specifically in a scenario, like a change to a specific arena's environment, or in PvE it changes to a specific dungeon or raids environment, then it's going to bleed out. If it's a change in classes, it's going to change everybody, unless there's a specific PvP stat and a PvE stat that helps you out. Other than that, it's going to spill. Let's see. Let me skip through some of this stuff here. That is where your hang up is. What does that penalty really look like? Oh man, see, that's a whole other conversation there, Riptide. That the corruption system is going to be both terrible and amazing depending on your point of view and how you're looking at stuff. It's supposed to, when you attack somebody and they don't attack back, and let me actually catch up with the chat here just to make sure somebody didn't already explain that to you, because I'm a few minutes behind, because I tended to jabber on for a bit there. Seems like a fair balance of the reward. So let's see. Okay, yeah, it looks like Proctes is starting to explain that out. Loss of items on death, ever increasing experience stat. This list. Yeah. So basically, yeah. Okay, you got it. I just had to keep scrolling down on chat. I scrolled up to read something and then didn't realize I was that far behind. But I'm caught up now. So in Ultima Online, you had to just say the word guards and they would get insta-whacked. Yeah, I mean, even Ultima Online had some more controls in the game for that. And Ultima Online is what a lot of people refer to back as like the hardcorest of hardcore. Like, I mean, that's why it's the game that invented the PvE only servers, because the PvP open kill everybody server was too much of a pain in the neck to everyone. Well, no, not to everyone. Let me take that back. I don't mean that. I don't mean that. Not to everyone. To PvE players, I should say. PvE players did not like that, and so therefore they ducked out. And so Ultima Online created, you know what if we have different shards? These different servers are realms. We'll call them shards, and they're gonna be housing different people. And you know what? Then there's Felucia, and then there's Tremel. And one's gonna be straight evil, slay anybody, and well, I guess straight neutral, right? And the other one's gonna be more of a good side. We're gonna not kill everybody in the open world. And right now today it's just Jim Beam. It's the Devil's Cut. It's basically like the stuff after they empty all the whiskey out of the barrel, they squeeze the barrel to get that last little bit out that's like hanging out in the wood. It's a little bit more it's a word, almost smoky, but it just has a lot more texture to the whiskey, I think. Ooh. Keyboard Oracle wants a donkey cart, because no one will gank an old guy in a donkey cart. I mean, you say that, but there's gonna be somebody. There's gonna be somebody. And they're gonna do it specifically because it's an old guy in a donkey cart, and nobody would gank an old guy in a donkey cart. And so therefore they're gonna do it. Benchmark foolproof? Okay. You know, I dig Buffalo Trace. I'm trying to remember exactly their flavor profile. I do recall thinking that they were a little bit too... I'm not a huge fan of like the massive upfront burn, and I don't think that one had the burn. I think it was maybe Angel's Envy, I think, had the burn. Not really spicy. I like spice. It's literally the alcohol burn. Like if you were to take rubbing alcohol and put it on your tongue and you feel that burn, that burn is what I'm talking about. Not the spicy flavored burn, but like the actual alcohol sizzle. There's some that don't have that same kind of burn then. Like you can be all the spice all day long. If you're talking like legitimate spice, you could put Tabasco in there and I'd be fine. Maybe not in bourbon, that would be weird. But in something like tequila or something in there, like spicy and spicy, I don't mind. It's the legitimate, I'm pouring rubbing alcohol in my mouth and I drink it right now and 3 seconds later I can't breathe. Those are the ones I'm not a big fan of. Basil Hayden, yeah, that one's pretty decent. That one's pretty good. Eagle Rare I can't say I've heard of though. I'll have to circle back on that one. That'll have to be something I check out at some point. Definitely shoot that in like a DM to me so I remember, or else I'll forget. Almost for sure. Yeah, Buffalo Trace. I'm really trying to remember exactly where they landed on my spectrum of amazing to terrible. I know they're not terrible, but I also know I didn't put them on amazing. They were like somewhere in the like 7 range or so, but I don't recall exactly why. I know it's one that I would never turn down if somebody offered it or just named it off when I said I don't know what kind of bourbon I want, but I probably wouldn't ask for it by name. I forget. Hey, gives me a reason to go buy a bottle. But yeah, back to the original thing. You were talking about, which was the corruption system. It's supposed to be stiff enough that it's going to dissuade. Let's grab the blue one. Ah, man, come on. Let me get it again. There we go. Yeah, it's supposed to be stiff enough where it's going to dissuade people from PKing relentlessly and actually griefing others. But it's supposed to be light enough where it will still allow for the freedom to engage in meaningful, I have a reason to do this, and I'm not just being a jerk kind of PvP in the open world, you know? And that's what I find interesting, because I know that he'd explained it out, but at least the thing I wanted to get into on it though was like finding that balance is going to be so very hard, because I think they're going to have to look at strictly numbers, right? Because if you go by player opinions too strongly, you're going to find that you're only going to really get complaints for like everything except for the exact precise sweet spot, and it's going to be like a cross section of complaints, like really strong on this side if the penalties are too strong, and really strong on, or really high on this side if the penalties are too weak, and they're just going to cross somewhere in the middle. They're not going to get down to zero until they hit the opposite end. So there's never going to be a, hey, nobody's complaining about this system. That's never going to happen. So much as start polling people now, test the hell out of it all the way through Alpha 2 and just adjust it up and down the entire time and see where that happy middle is with, you know, we've gotten these emails grouped into this side and these emails grouped in on that side. And right about this level, this balance point is around the point where all complaints as a whole were evenly balanced. The plates on each side of the scales stayed at the same height. Yeah, I mean, that might be one of the most important for the success of Ashes. I mean, to kind of continue on conversations that I've had in the past couple weeks, which is PvE, well, funny enough, PvE versus PvP versus PvX. Like, where do you stand on things? How do you see things? How should things be based on your idea of how it should happen to be the best balance and the best functionality? And my opinion, honestly, is that maybe more important than the corruption system is going to be giving PvE people a reason to want to log in, like a desire to log in. And simply saying, hey, this game, the best stuff comes from crafting. And to build the best stuff in crafting, you're going to have to get the materials from raids. That doesn't, to me, as someone who's a PvE player, both on the super casual and on the super competitive side, I've lived them both. I've played them both. I love them both. I will always do both of them. Like PvE combat at a competitive and a super casual style. And what I mean by that is I'm going to hang with my absolute casual people who really don't give a crap if they finish a dungeon or raid. They're just out there to have a good time, go do some content, slay some things, collect some gold, hopefully end up better than you started with at the beginning of the day. And you really don't care if you beat a boss. You're here to have fun. And Jim is a terrible player, but he's a great guy to have around when you're just trying to have fun in an MMO. And Frank over there is fantastic. He's always bringing all the meals and stuff like that, so it's cool. So-and-so always has the best jokes to tell when the run goes too long, and we just have a good time. But then I also like to play the super competitive, like push really hard for it. And the first time you bump into a raid boss, there's no guide. You got to jump in and, you know, so-and-so, like Riptide, your job is to take notes of every single buff and debuff that hits that boss. Take screenshots, like hover your mouse over stuff and take a screenshot, like be smashing the screenshot button as you move your mouse to hover over the debuff. Make sure it shows. Do the same thing for all the buffs. Do the same thing for this and that and the other. That's your job. You are cameraman number one. Don't pick me for that. All right, Riptide, your job is to, I don't even know what to give you for a job. What What would you like to do for a job then, sir? If you would not like to be the note taker, the screenshotter, but yeah, that's the type of stuff I'm used to. Is literally we know we're going to be wiping for the first 2 weeks, just gathering intel. Burn your your burn phase Riptide. All right. So for the first phase, when you're not doing anything because you're not burning, you're gonna be taking the screenshots. Wahaha. Burn phase will switch you over. But yeah, you gotta give people something to look forward to and want to log in for, like actually want to log in. Because in most games out there, you can kind of show off that you did something by going, doing it, and bringing back some gear. And by bringing back some gear, I mean some bind on pickup gear. Like you have to be in the raid and pick up that gear in order for it to show up on your character. Like you have to. Ashes doesn't have much bind on pickup gear. There's gonna be some, apparently. Steven said there's gonna be like super limited, but it hasn't really defined what that is. And bind on equip, I think, is even going to be somewhat rare, right? And let's see, let me go back into chat here. See, so honestly, the best punishment for PKers is set their level back to 1, and we'll get ganked, and so on and so. Well, Irish Viking, I do believe you are far more harsh on the PK life than I am. Dear Lord, just set him back to level 1. Get him out of here. I don't know why I just saw that first, because I already read everything else around that there. Like Grux is saying, yeah, let me and my friends murder a solo guy if he takes the mining node from me. Irish Viking, actually, Chibi is not sick. Monday Mead Quest has actually been my thing for a while. She joins me occasionally, but I just like to chill and hang out and shoot the breeze, have a drink, and literally just hang out after a tough Monday with folks. Play a game if no one's here, or if no one feels like chatting. If people feel like chatting, then I'd rather chat Ashes than play a game. So there's that. So yeah, she's in the other room. She's actually, I do believe she might be playing some. Yeah, she likes to lurk sometimes. I do believe she might be playing some First Descendant. I don't know though, because there's a whole wall and a door between me and her. She might be chilling, just playing with Pupper. But let's see, don't pick me for that. Okay, that's a good compromise. Let's see, Riptide, I want to raid so I can craft the best stuff. Ola says Hidden Dagger Inn. Hello, Peon. From the Hidden Dagger Inn. And those who don't know this guy, actually, Riptide, I mentioned him to you earlier. This is that Peon Hidden Dagger Inn. He does Ash's stuff. Feel free to check him out. He has a lot less filter than many of the other content creators. You know what? You know what I've noticed? Peon, and see if you believe, see if you agree this. It seems like a lot of the content creators in the Ashes environment here, a lot of them don't have a filter, but it's all in different ways, right? Like they all have different turns of phrases that spawn the I don't have a filter statement, but like they're all different. Like they're all different. Oh, Riptide, thank you so much. You didn't have to do that, man. Thank you. I appreciate you. Cheers, friend. Cheers. Mm-hmm. But, look at me bullying you about... Fair enough. Fair enough. Alright, see, so now I gotta go out and I gotta pick up that Buffalo Trace just so I can give it a... That is 5 subs. That's another spin as well. Oof. Doing the fireball shot? Oh man. I think the shots might be more fun if it's both of us. But sure, if you think the shot's the thing, I'll do the shot. I'll do the shot. I will never turn one down. But there you go. Let's see here. Scrolling back up here. Yeah, but if you don't mind me saying, Peon, by the way, yeah, your filter depends on the mood you're in. Well, I was gonna say if there's two individuals, I would say that absolutely the phrase "I don't have a filter" or "my filter is broken," it's probably yourself and Jamie. I think between the two of you guys might have the closest to legitimately not having a filter or having a broken one that only kind of partially works and only catches like maybe this will get me kicked off of Twitch or something. But you guys have, I'll watch you folks and every once in a while I go, oh, what did he say? My gosh, I do not have the guts to say something like that on Twitch. And I don't. Filter's kind of broken. Yeah, you like them? Yeah. They're a rowdy bunch. Chaos and Lace. Well, it's Jamie Chaos and Annie Lace. And they have the Chaos Cartel. They do Tangents of Creation is the name of the show. And yeah, they don't have much of a filter. Hidden Dagger In pops on there with Paranaut. Hidden Dagger In you can find from just clicking his name there here on Twitch. Chaos and Lace. Let me pull them up here. Because it's just going to be Jamie Chaos. I just forget how the channel name is spelled. Let me see if I can dig it up for you though. Jamie Chaos. Hey, there it is. First try. It was exactly what I thought it was. Oops. That was only out to Twitch, so let me balance that out. Or it was only out to, it was not out to Twitch. It's out to the other group. Yeah, but could he be counted? He's like a variety. He's a variety streamer. He covers everything. Everything known to man. Everything known to man he covers, so... He might end up creating content for AOC, but I wouldn't call him necessarily an AOC creator. Because, like, the rest of us were kind of, like, circled in. And doing just AOC content for the most part. Like, majority AOC content, I'll put it that way. There you go. Look away, look away. Alright, now I need to scroll back up because I knew I was getting behind on chat, so I had to catch up here. But let me circle back to what I was talking about. So we're going, Aussie, best punishment for them. So when they get ganked. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I gotcha. Yeah, so PvE, that's where we were. PvE, and talking about doing raids, and I was talking about liking to do both the casual side of PvE combat stuff and the actual competitive side. And that's what I think AOC is going to be missing, is PvE that's competitive. We are going to be allowed to stream for A2 when the actual Alpha 2 launches. When it goes actually public and non-NDA, we'll be able to stream it. Yeah. Anybody will be able to stream it that has access to play. But there are going to be some sessions that are covered by NDA before then. Maggie actually talked about that even on the last live stream. Like, there's going to be some spot testing that are all covered by NDA leading up to Alpha 2, and once Alpha 2 goes live, then everybody who is playing will be able to stream it. But yeah, so the PvE thing, bringing something into Ashes where PvE players feel like they have a desire to log in. Like, I don't have, unless I really enjoy the environment, having the only reason for me to log in being I can make the best gear doesn't feel to me quite rewarding. But having something exist, even if it were, say, And that's perfect timing there, Zev. You walked in right as I was about to talk about that. There are raids planned for AOC. Most of them are open world. The instanced raids, which are going to be the only thing that's like pure PvE content, is quests, basically. It's tied to questing, it's tied to the storyline, or at least that's how it's been stated publicly at this point. Like, the only statements we have on instanced PvE basically says it's going to be built around stories and certain parts of encounters that they want to have high control over because of narrative reasons. So those are the ones that are going to be in there. So you have 20% of the PvE content in the game is going to be instanced. They're not going to be incredibly difficult. They're not going to be highly tuned, and they're not going to drop great gear. It's going to be acceptable gear, basically. So what you would accept, or what you would receive from a quest, or what you would expect from a quest, is basically what you'll get inside those raids, again, from interpreting the statements that have been put out there so far. So yeah, Zev, they do have plans to have raids. Most of them, 80% of them, are going to be open world. Unfortunately, not a whole lot of detail around how those are going to be fully managed. There's been a bunch of general statements, but we have yet to see a from beginning to end, skipping obviously the 20-minute boss fight or whatever, right? But a beginning to end, like, this is how a raid is supposed to function in Ashes of Creation. We've heard some statements and answers about certain portions here and there, but if you can do a storyline quest one time because it's part of a quest, literally a quest, and then you're done, you don't get any more gain out of it, because they've said they don't want that 20% to be farmable. And hello, welcome in there, Dylan, AJW. Happy Monday to you as well. Happy Mondays to you as well. If you can only do it once, then you can't touch it again. Like, for one, there's no reason to even count those as like an end game or elder game piece of content. Like elder game PvE combat is what I'm looking at there specifically. So if they were to take those and they were to make instanced versions of them that were more challenging and had leaderboards, or at least took it out of like story mode and brought in, say, a couple extra mechanics or something, and had leaderboards and maybe some titles, some achievements, that could be kind of cool. But what I think would be even better is if they were to, once you've experienced a certain portion of an open world raid, and I don't mean like fought every boss or beat every boss once or twice or something, but legitimately mapped out the place or collected enough attunement materials or something to that effect, completed enough quests, found enough lore, whatever, where you can now enter an instanced version of it, the exact same raid, right? The only difference is they box off the beginning and they box off any other exits to or from the place. And you can go in and you can experience an instanced version of one of the raids. And you can do leaderboards, you can do titles, achievements, etc. And I think PvE players would have a blast with that. And it would give them practice to get into the real raid that actually awards, end game gear making materials. That I think would feel a lot more truly rewarding to a PvE player to log in and deal with going through and fighting through PvP to do their PvE content, rather than just their PvE content is questing if they don't get beat up by a PvP like Gank Squad, and crafting in town and gathering, and that's their PvE. Other than that, they have to fight PvP. Not guaranteed, but they're guaranteed to be put at risk of PvP, for sure. And nobody really talks about what the risk is for PvP activities, right? Like, what's the risk in an instanced arena? What's the risk versus reward there? But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Again, a lot of the stuff requires testing, right? To see if it's just to see if the balance needs to be adjusted or if it's kind of in a good place. Because it could be very well in a good place, and I could just be fretting over a fear that we'll be short on PvE population when we might not have a shortage of PvE population. Yeah, Virtek has been drinking. Every Mead Quest, sir. Every Mead Quest. Oh man. They ooze from me? Well, hey, all the good ideas. I'll bring them all. I'll bring them all. Every week. All the time. Yeah, well, I'm also talking, Proctes, about, mainly I'm talking about the, arenas, because there's instanced arenas. And instanced arenas, I'm curious where the risk versus reward is there. Because if there's anything to win at all, there's zero risk being involved there. Because you have no experience debt, you have no, gear degradation that I know of. And you're just getting rewards off of going and playing a portion of the game that you love to play. So it's all reward and legitimately zero risk except for your time. You could be out making money instead of playing the arena. That's it. But you could call that an admission fee. It's not a risk. And Zev E84, it's not really a reputation system. It's legitimately just reputation and word of mouth. Currently, as far as I've seen, there's no actual system for social reputation. It's just all word of mouth. That's something we had talked about on this podcast before, though, is having actual systems where if say a caravan gets ganked and the caravan was leaving from we'll call it from node A to node B, and in the middle somebody from node C had attacked that caravan and they got all the goods, they stole them, they delivered them to node B, and yeah, they now raided, or they were bandits that took on a caravan and they beat it, they took all the stuff, they sold it, and now node A should have, I feel it should have a news report or a bulletin board somewhere that spells out, hey, people from these guilds participated in a raid of this caravan, and they'll have like caravan whatever from so and so leaving node A to go to node B. Maybe not even a bounty board, Proctes, so much as a notice board, legitimately letting the entire population know when they pass by that a caravan going from Farmer Brown, he was sending from our node to node B, was taken over by this list of people by name, listed systematically. And then right next to that, their guild name. And right next to that, the node where they're a citizen. And all of it would be listed out like a news report or like just a spreadsheet, for crying out loud, of saying, hey, these people decided to raid a caravan and they took over this caravan, and that would have more impact and be more socially feared. I think that's the thing. Yeah, socially feared to people who are trying to just run around and curb stomp, or what's the people calling it, murderballing a bunch of caravans. Is if they end up on every single node's bad guy list, like a notice board that just says this person slain everyone involved with moving in a caravan from this node to that node, then they would maybe be a pariah, maybe, in theory, possibly. But I mean, even that might not be quite enough, but that's the only thing even close to an actual social system I could see being tied into that would be nicely impactful. All right, and I'm going to circle on back here, and I'm going to say give you a proper welcome there, Ezekiel. Chibi welcomed you in. I did not quite possibly, but I was in mid-conversation there with Zev, and I apologize. I could have totally said hello, but I did want to finish that out because it was on the brain. But welcome in. I've been pretty good. How have you been? What have you been up to? What kind of fun stuff have you been doing on your streams, by the way? I haven't stopped in a good minute, and I am sorry for that. I'm a terrible friend. I haven't even stopped by, said hello, haven't brought you a cake, haven't brought you a pie, nothing. But I hope things have been well. And yeah, Peon, I think all of us are in the waiting room right now. We're all just staring at the TV, reading the little magazines off the table, and we're waiting for our number to be called. Didn't even bring cheese. Man, I've never brought cheese one time, and I feel terrible about it. I mean, I don't, because I ate all the cheese before I showed up, which is why I didn't bring any. But I'll pretend that I feel terrible. But I'll have a full belly of cheese, so, you know, it is what it is. And let's see, people cut you down if everyone knows you rate everyone. Yeah. And that's exactly it. Like, people will actually start to have legitimate social consequences if they raid too many caravans. Aside from right now, which is it really is depending on word of mouth. If you don't have people taking screenshots of all these caravan raids, there's gonna be a hard time proving who really raided who, when, or where. And are you sure that they did? And you're not just like imagining things? Because I swear they were in a guild meeting on the other side of the map. And I mean in a guild meeting because we were all sitting at a chair, right? We walked to the same table and we sat down in a chair. So it could be a thing. It could be a thing. But they have to do it like proper. Like, I think it needs to be a system-driven social impact, so that it can't be misinterpreted as somebody just misremembered or somebody is smack talking or whatever it is. Maybe the person needs to go back to their node that they brought the caravan from and report it. And then put down if they wish to remain anonymous, or if they wish to have their caravan's contents remain anonymous, or if they wish to have the destination remain anonymous. So then, I mean, that might even be another like risk versus reward statement there. Maybe the driver of the caravan could, if their caravan gets jacked by a bandit, they can go back to their node or the originating node, either way, and they can report it stolen. The system already knows it was stolen. It already knows who took place in the combat. It already knows, by the end of the day anyway, where they sold those goods and how much money they made. But it may not post in the bulletin until the person goes back and manually reports it. And if all they can do is report it and they can't like wipe their name or the caravan's contents from it, then I think that would be a good risk versus reward balance for them, right? I mean, it carries it forward down the line, so risk versus reward being on them in the first place. Bandit takes it, and then if the consequences are social consequences, if the person running the caravan goes back to town to report it, that's the risk that they're taking. So the risk gets cashed out. Caravan driver takes it back to their node that they originated the caravan from, posts it on a board, and then also that person now has their name on who reported the caravan theft. So then the risk is back on them again. So maybe the caravan drivers shouldn't be named, because they already paid their risk. They already put their goods up in a caravan to travel from node A to node B. It already got stolen. They already got experience debt from being killed in PvP. The caravans won't have experience debt. They'll have gear degradation. So they'll have gear degradation that they'll need to pay for. So they paid their price. They shouldn't have any further risk just to pay, just to turn into the paper / bulletin board, the news organization of whatever type that bandits had taken over the caravan, is my thought. That's my thought. Let's see. Drama travels quickly. Everyone will know pretty quickly if it's repetitive. Yeah, Pallywags. I mean, I would like to think so. I would like to think so. And Ares PDX said a reputation is huge. One member rubbing people the wrong way can affect the guild's rep too. Yeah, no, the question is, in a guild, or not in a guild, but, well, yeah, in a guild. So the question is, if you're in a guild that likes the open world PvP life, they like the going around and kind of harassing people and being the heels of the open world PvP scene. They like to instigate. They don't like to be the griefers, but they like to instigate PvP. They might find that perfectly acceptable, and that's fine. And so the entire guild is going to need to be found to be, you know, hostile or whatever. Or they might ask you just to prove it. And if you can't prove it, they're going to say, well, you know, you didn't save screenshots, you didn't send me this, didn't send me that. All you did is say that somebody did something. This is very Eve-esque with the media. Yeah. Man, grumpy guy, that's crazy. The Tibia showed on your account page who got the most damage and last hit on you. That's kind of crazy. Like, not really crazy like they're lunatics, but like crazy like that's a lot of detail and specific types of details that someone would put on your account page, or not someone, the developer would put on your account page, and you wouldn't expect to see on a video game, right? And Tibia, I skipped right over Tibia, to be honest. Not even on purpose. I just didn't know it existed at the time. I was playing, what was I playing? So I played Zenimus first, and then in 1997, yeah, it had to, depending on what time, it was like Ultima Online or Zenimus. I played Zenimus for embarrassingly long. I don't know why I played that game for so long, but I played it for probably 3 years or so. 2 years? 2 years. We'll call it 2. Till someone successfully slaps you with a glove. So part of PvP avoidance is literally just ducking gloves being thrown at you from across the room. That sounds both hilarious and terrible all at the same time. I'm just imagining somebody trying to slap you with a glove just so they can instigate a PvP fight. Dodge glove. If you can dodge an arrow, you can dodge a glove. Some Rangers Dodge Glove Academy or something. Nice. Droog's gonna be the Droogie Parker? Or to be Peter Druger? What do you think? Druger Parker? Or Peter Druger? I think Druger Parker. I think that one. That works better. Need pictures of Spider-Man. On death screenshots. There you go. Yeah, exactly. Get the screenshot with somebody dead on the ground. Somebody else running away from the scene of the crime. Make sure to catch the bottom of their boots so the footprints match. On death open mic. Is that so that the person dying can scream like bloody murder? Proximity to listeners' enjoyment. Oh man, that just sounds like my ears would be bleeding by the end of a week. There would be so many surprised shrieks and yells. Ooh. I mean, it sounds like it could be hilarious one way or another. Whether they're reacting in tears or laughter or just surprised shrieks. Either way. It sounds like it would be great entertainment, but oh my gosh. Bring back the old COD lobby days. Oh man. Just play anime sound clips over comms. I mean, and see, that's the... Yeah, it's raining hard. So yeah, let me let everybody know, just in case the stream just up and dies, it's probably because it is raining like crazy. I'm not sure if you can actually hear it through the microphone when I'm talking. It doesn't look like it, but audio levels can do weird things and they might not show the whole story. But yeah, it is coming down pretty heavy. Wow. It was raining in game 2. Yeah, it was. For a quick minute, at least. Hold on, I need to find different scenery. We've been sitting here looking at Hogwarts for days now. Literally, the last hour of last week and the first hour and a half of this week we've been staring at Hogwarts. Let's see if we can find a better something. That'll be my next task. Alright, everybody kind of knows this stuff, right? See if we can find something more unique. Yeah, we'll come over this way. Yeah, Droog? What's the one you've heard of? Any good? Are they gonna have PVX?
This place has seen better days.
Sure. Alright, you know what? Let's go up here. There we go. Yeah, I think up here would be a nice scene, right? Alright. Nope, go away. Go away. Alright, cool. We're hanging out right here. There it is. Now that's done. Alright, so we've heard of one coming out. I'm so game starved right now, says Riptide. I mean, Riptide, Soul Mask? What's Soul Mask? Please do tell. I'm gonna be honest and say that I haven't even heard of that, like, at all. Chibi and I have been playing First Descendant. It's basically Destiny meets Warframe meets, I don't know, other stuff. What was the one? I keep wanting to say The District, it's not that. Division, The Division. I haven't played The Division and I've only seen some of Warframe, but I guess you could say it works something like them, yeah. But we've been kind of liking it. It's definitely pay for convenience. I think a little bit of pay to win in there, but jury's still out on that, just because I haven't looked through all the options on it yet. But it's crazy pay for convenience, like. Anything you can think of to make your life easier and faster and more better, they sell it. Let's see, if you find things a little tense, relaxes. It's just a dwarf camping. Sorry, maybe there was a punctuation thing there or something. I'm just trying to make sure I understood that correctly. Tales of the Shire. If you find things a little intense, it's just a dwarf camping. Oh, never mind. I get it. I get it. Look at that. I fell for a little punny joke. If you find things a little intense, you a funny one. I thought I was Lord of the Dead jokes. My goodness, I didn't even see that one coming. Alright, so Soul Mask is a survival game, says Hidden Dagger in. Kind of like Conan Exiles. Message me in Discord asking about it? Okay. That's right. And Valentine says, caught snippets of the live stream. Did they say that A1 testers will get to test this month, or was that just rumor? They didn't necessarily say that there was going to be A1 testers being in this month, so much as there should be an email sent out at some point this month. And they're going to get A1 testers in before Alpha 2 is ready to go. They're going to start with, as Fion said there, NDA testing will be opening on 500 of the most dedicated A1 testers based on bug reports, time played in A1, activity on forums, specifically in areas and on topics that were related to playing Alpha 1. And then they're going to get 500 random and potentially expand more after that, who knows. But yeah, it's not just a rumor. There are going to be A1 testers getting in. The only part that might be a rumor is the this month part, because this month them testing is not necessarily confirmed. It's contacting them at some point this month. I mean, you would think in theory if they're going to contact them this month, it's probably going to be testing this month, but you never know. It could be contact in July, have them test in August, and then September is the actual Alpha 2. Well, at the end of it, anyway. You felt sad for you, didn't make it to phase 2? Didn't make it to phase 2 on what? Oh, you're talking about Seasons of Discovery. Okay. I had to scroll back up to remind myself what conversation you were having. But yeah, I didn't even make it to phase 1, to be honest. I heard that Seasons of Discovery was going to be classic, but with different quests. And my brain said, okay, so they had actual World of Warcraft. Then they progressed past that, and then they came back and said, let's do World of Warcraft again, but we'll call it Classic. And we'll just have the same stuff, but, you know, again. And so they released World of Warcraft Classic, and then they were like, you know what we didn't do? We didn't release the same content with new content. So it'll be the same content, but with new content that we've added in the last 47 years that we've had this game live. So we'll add a little bit of new content. Can you do that? Can you take the old game and just add a few new things in there? Oh, that's just like creating it, the new version and just patching the old one? Okay, then yeah, patch it and we'll just ship it out as a brand new thing, right? That was the entire board meeting for SOD, for SOD. That was the entire board meeting right there. Just take the old stuff, patch it with some new stuff, and we'll ship it like a new product. We're done. I need it next week. Let's go. And I didn't like the whole, it sounded like it was going to be just a fresh coat of paint on the old stuff. It was literally a roll of sod. You know, the rolled up grass that you can get to just lay over your lawn in case your grass just sucks. You can just roll over a new layer of sod on top. They tried to do that. Let's see. The lack of anything else. Yeah, and Riptide, I feel that in my soul. Like, there's just not a lot of stuff going on, like, out there at all. Guild Wars 2, I want to get back into it. I want to bring other people back into it, but I think the graphics are holding that one back for a lot of people. The graphics are holding a lot of people back. I think I've gotten, the graphics are just not doing it for me from most of the people I try to bring in Guild Wars. And let's see, Kaylin TV, welcome in. How are you tonight? How's it going? So you gave up on Blizzard over a decade ago after WoW. They've been pretty much downhill. I'm just glad people have finally realized the actual state of Blizzard now. Yeah. Sometimes it takes people a minute. All you can do is just watch what happens. See what people go through. See what people go through and what they take from it. Me, I don't know. There's only so many times I can get in there and say, this was a terrible idea. Why did they do things this way? This is not enjoyable at all. In any way, shape, or form. Alright, well, I'm quitting. And by the end of that expansion, I'll like tap out for, you know, 2 to 12 months. And then I came back at the next expansion, like maybe they did it better this time. And I got tired of them, maybe they did it better. And then I started assuming, no, they did not do it better. So I'm just gonna not. See, the lack of power progression? What? So... Barbasanti, is that lack of power progression in World of Warcraft or lack of power progression in Guild Wars 2? Are you talking about the horizontal progression instead of vertical once you hit max level? Okay. I could see that. That's something that we were talking about on the podcast not too long ago. With horizontal versus vertical progression, and does one of them feel satisfying versus the other one feel like there's always a chase for better and you always have to keep on the hamster wheel. My view is you're going to be on a hamster wheel no matter what you do. Let's be honest. Like, what are you doing when they release new content or a new expansion? You're logging back on, you're blowing dust off of certain parts of the game you haven't touched in 6 months, and you start running through it again, and you start bringing back together the people that were together like a couple months ago, but they took a 1 or 2 month hiatus to just relax because they got stressed out about whatever the last content patch was, and they beat it all and they got through it, and now they just want to chill out for a month or two. You got to call all of them. You got to make sure, okay, and we get the babysitter back on the cycle again because rating's going to start, or this is going to start, or that's going to start, and then you get back into, you know, rating or doing your arena season or your whatever you're doing, and you start it over again. Whether it's horizontal or vertical progress, it's all the same cycle. The only difference is, are you chasing across a continent, or are you chasing across a continent and also feel yourself get stronger on the way by, or you're just feeling yourself get different elements of attack on the way by. And yeah, that's about it. Like, I don't even know. I've only experienced Guild Wars 2 as far as a horizontal power progression, and I've got to say I didn't really notice it as being a completed game at the end, purposely keeping it at max level, because I did not play Guild Wars 2 for the first like 6 years or something, or 10 years it was out. I didn't play Guild Wars 2 until right before the Dragons expansion. Right before that's when I picked it up, and I know that because I bought the full I bought the Dragon expansion because I got the base pack for free from a win a contest type thing. I won the base game all the way up to and before the Dragon expansion. I only had to pay for the Dragon expansion to get the whole collection. But to me, coming in at that last minute, I was just playing the game until I got to level 80, and I happened to hit level 80, and I continued the rest of the main story quest line until I finished it. So it felt like any other game where you might be max level before you finish the quest line. So I can't comment on the horizontal progression because to me it felt like any other game I would have joined 10 years late. I'd be playing all the way through really quick, getting to max level, and then playing for a lot longer to finish out the main story quest. But I suppose it didn't really like stand out as being bad, but it's still the same hamster wheel. The only difference is the hamster wheel doesn't go anywhere in either version, but at least one lets you think you're going somewhere, right? You have the feeling that you're going. The horizontal progression, you're still in the hamster wheel, you just don't sweat. You know, like you don't have anything to show for it. With the actual hamster wheel where you're getting more gear, in my mind anyway, and this is just my opinion, in my mind, if you're going through the hamster wheel of gear to get more powerful, because there is power creep, there is getting more levels added in there and everything, you have something to show for it in the end. You know, like there's a new area, there's new levels, there's new things. You can't go there before you go through the old content first. But that's also part of like truly playing in like a sand park. I mean, definitely playing in a sandbox, that's more of a thing, but they really don't have big, huge, long storyline quests that guide you along through anything. So yeah, the sand park that Ashes is trying to be, I think it's supposed to guide you a little bit, and I think that should be part of the guiding, is guiding through a gear pathing from early level to begin to end, right? Yeah, I mean, I can see that too, Barbasanti. I'm all about the combat thing as well, which is why it kind of makes me twitch when I'm talking about needing PvE content that people like PvE players want to log in for. They have a desire and a need to log in for. Like if you're gonna have that passion to log in every day and do something, or maybe not log in every day because you know you got to take a break, right? It's gaming, be healthy. But if you're gonna have somebody want to log in every day, whether they do log in or not, like they want to log in, they want to do something, you need to have that desire. And feeding the machine is not really something that's a great desire, but yeah, there needs to be something there. And when I talk about that with any group, the typical assumption is that, ooh, Champion of the Hill. Boom, join. Yeah, the typical assumption is, hey, no, that wasn't, wait, I need to join with me. I need to join with me. There we go. All right. The typical assumption people make is that I'm talking about anything that's not player versus player, right? And it always makes me twitch a little bit. Because no, I'm not talking about questing when I say that I want PvE combat stuff. Like PvE players need something to log into at the end of the day. At Elder Game combat, they need something to do competitively to keep them coming in and make them want to stop in. And yeah, please, Kaylin, if you have another definition, because I'm going to try to, I think I'm going to take up Riptide's queue there, and I'm going to actually start trying to collect everybody's definitions of what PBX is. Because even over all these years doing content creation, I still haven't really come to I haven't found a true consensus on a solid definition of PBX besides just, you know, it's a thing. You know, with the stuff, and you know, man. Player versus xenomorphs. That's possibly the best definition I've ever heard in this entire thing. And by the way, Proctes, congratulations being the new champion of the hill with the teapot. Vicious. Tea time's supposed to be for relaxing, not for clubbing. But yeah, players versus exomorph is amazing. Xenomorph. Wait, see, now I need to look it up. Let's see. What? Let's Cenobite. So Cenobite and Xenomorph. There we go. I had to look them up so I knew which was which. But playing player versus Xenomorphs reminded me about how I get confused between Aliens and Hellraiser. Not really because of the movie type, the movie theme, the movie anything, so much as Xenomorph versus Cenobite. And I don't know why, but every time I hear or see somebody mention Xenomorph, I always get confused on which movie they're talking about. It makes my brain flip sideways. So, let's see. Star Citizen shout out. Star Citizen creature, not Star Citizen. No, Starfield, not Star Citizen. It's not okay. So here you go. Kalen TV says it's not PvP or PvE. Honestly, anyone that's played Lineage 2 knows exactly what Steven is aiming for. It's a merger of both that doesn't allow you to choose one or the other. Forced cooperation between players, supporting one another while progressing. Every boss contested, as others are going for the same goals. We released a YouTube video a while back, more than a year ago on YouTube, though it only somewhat touched on it. Although, dropped the YouTube content creation idea, I've gone into game dev. Well, hey, game dev versus making content about a game, right? And see, that's the thing that is interesting, Caitlin, though, is that definition I think is pretty decent. As an actual definition goes. But I'm still having a hard time like really dialing in on Intrepid's vision and calling it PvX, because at this point there's the only impact that exists that PvE can make upon PvP, like PvE can fight a boss to get the best gear. But a PvP group can just roll right through and do the same thing, right? Hey, Praktis, alright, well you have yourself a great night. Rest well, and thanks for stopping by. It's much, much appreciated. And actually, yeah, oh yeah, Kaylin, please do, please do. Alright, and I'm going to really quick, while you're typing that out, I do apologize folks, I need to use the restroom real quick. So I'm going to do a quick BRB screen for about 3 minutes. I'll put you on some music again. And I'll be back as soon as I can. Be fun. We'll start with some Dunir Dwarves. Dunir Dwarves. Alright. Yeah, I'll be right back, I promise. As soon as I can. See you in a few minutes. All right. Hey. I'm back. Sorry, I was gonna try and hold out till midnight, but no. Nature called. But let's see. Catch back up here. So, So Hidden Dagger says they can. That's why it's PVX. You can do PvP or PvE anytime. Okay, so Hidden Dagger, by that definition, that is World of Warcraft open PvP servers. World of Warcraft PvP servers were actually PVX. And 99 out of 100 people that are touting and pushing forth the PVX, like Ashes is PVX, would say that World of Warcraft was never PVX. And that's the part we're trying to figure out, is what exactly does that mean now? And if all it means is that you could go into a raid and have PvP people come in and mess with you, that's totally different. See, and that's the thing. But by the definition that some people put out is that you can do either at any time, then that is, by that definition specifically, that is World of Warcraft PvP servers. So, and that's why I always ask for more than just you can choose what you want to do and whatnot. Oh, no. World of Warcraft? When's the last time you played World of Warcraft? Can you solo a dungeon as soon as you're level appropriate? Before being raid geared and into the next raid tier? Can you really solo a dungeon? Because last time I played World of Warcraft, unless they've done it recently, and please take into account that I have not played Dragonflight or anything after Dragonflight. I haven't, actually, you know what? I haven't played since Legion. So this is me speaking from Legion and before. Well, class balance is a joke in every game. To be honest, every game that I've ever played, every MMORPG that I've played, they've had balance issues. And some of the balance issues, I feel, have been created by the developer for one reason or another. Either they look at the analytic data incorrectly, or they're doing it on purpose to give every class a chance to shine in PvP and a time to shine in PvE. The only problem is they sometimes just ignore some of the classes or subclasses, and it doesn't come out quite right. But one way or another, like, class balance in every game that I've ever played has always been kind of a joke, in one way, shape, or form. But when it comes to just the definition of PVX, that's one that I'm really looking for, to try to see if we can hold Intrepid accountable to a definition that exists out there in the world. If they're going to define their own version of PVX, that's fine too. But I need to know what that is. I need to know what that definition is. What does PVX actually mean? And please, if somebody has seen or knows of or can find Steven defining what PVX legitimately means outside of a single sentence that says you can do anything at any time and you know, there's always risk versus reward. Anything you do has got to be at risk, and such like that. Because those are very general statements. Very general statements, and I don't think they really define PvX. Let's see, and Eris says in PvX, if PvE content is a PvP objective, then you're doing it right. Well, how about PvP content being a PvE objective? I mean, that feels kind of weird in general to me. If they both have something involved with each other, I could see it being right. I think to be truly like PvX in my mind, like you have to have it where both can directly influence the other, but also have a counterplay. Like there needs to be a counterplay. Like in PvP content, let's take the purest form in my mind of this versus that. If you take PvP content and you say that PvP content is when the fighter can kill the wizard. Well, the wizard should be able to fight back and kill the fighter, right? So in PvX, if it's PvP and PvE intermixed, then PvE has to have a way to return and retaliate against PvP. Not just exist in its own, like PvE just exists as cattle to be farmed and or herded. And that's their purpose. No, they should be able to have something to actually legitimately retaliate against a PvP objective, in my mind. Like there needs to be something tangible that they can do that will keep them equatable to the PvP crowd, and or be able to get the upper hand. And gaining the upper hand doesn't mean just going and potentially completing a raid, if they can do it. If the raid boss exists, to maybe craft a piece of gear that's going to get into the hands of a PvP player that's going to come and interfere with their PvE. That just feels weird to me. But again, everything's up for testing. I'm open to test it and see how it goes, but that might be some of the feedback I give in the end of things. Is it doesn't feel like PvE has a purpose besides being cattle. They just go and do the things so the PvP players can enjoy the game. That's how it looks like it might play out, and that's not going to be very incentivizing to PvE style players, and give them a desire to push through the PvP risks in order to do their PvE content, if that makes sense. And then Hidden Dagger, by the way, followed up by saying, but dedicated raid groups of PvE players will be important to bring back the materials while having the PvPers guard them outside. And that also feels kind of icky. Because think about it in reverse. So the entire way that AOC is built right now is PvE players need to pay PvP players. Like that's the entire game's premise. For every PvE piece of content, they need to pay PvP players. Where's the content that PvP players need to pay PvE players? Outside of, and here's where it gets really weird, so before you type anything, think about this. If PvE players going to a raid to get materials to sell to PvP players, and that's how they pay PvE players, then you have it a little bit backwards, because the PvE players need to pay PvP players to guard them, and then the PvP players pay that same money back to the PvE players to buy the materials that they just got in the raid that they got paid to guard. Feels kind of weird like that, right? Now, if you can name one instance where a PvP player is forced to pay a PvE player and gets nothing in return outside of whatever service was rendered, and it wasn't like a cyclical, I give you money and then you give me money right back, then it's not really a balanced PvX system. It's a PvP game that has PvE cattle that are required to fulfill a purpose and or fill the bellies of other people, and that's their purpose. But all right, so falling behind on chat here again because there's some long stuff from Kalen. I'm going to read through his stuff real quick here. So let's see. So my question, Riptide says, so my question is, Kalen TV, does PvX mean it's taking the social aspect into account? Exactly that, says Kalen. In L2, you couldn't solo really. You literally had to party with people. If you were a healer, you didn't really have any DPS besides 2 undead monsters. No other class could heal, which meant you needed healers. Only tanks could really tank, and respective support heavy armor class could tank, hence needed. DPS filled their obvious roles. Support caster classes were needed. What did this create? A trinity system that literally required everyone to work together. Remember partying with members of the guild, all to help farm spellbooks for our buffer in order to get them needed skills for themselves and the party. People grouping up and grinding mats for each other as crafting was best in slot, so everyone lent a hand. The game was all about social and the interactions you had. But while you go about doing so, you have to keep an eye out on conflict. Because other players are doing the exact same thing, and if the area is full and no grind spots are there, potential for PvP happens. And Riptide says, okay, well then the media thing TTF Tavern brought up about accountability for PvP attack would be a valid and necessary thing. And yeah, you know, to add on to it, yeah, I had only mentioned it in reference to caravans, but yeah, being taken down and having your raid interfered with, specifically if the system recognizes that you've engaged in an encounter in some way, and somebody comes in and messes with you while you're doing that, and being able to report them on a social network or a social bulletin board inside of all the nodes, that would be a golden thing too, because there's their risk, right? The social accountability. And Eris PDX says, I think that's because people have been trained to think of PvP and PvE as different game styles. PvX means PvE loops are a PvP micro objective, and PvP loops are a PvE macro strategy. Well, not necessarily trained to think of, and here's my opinion on it. So people aren't necessarily trained to think of them as separate gameplay styles, so much as if you drive a car, right, and you say, I like to drive my car, and someone says, okay, cool, what's your fastest lap time? A lot of people are going to say, what the fuck are you talking about? Fastest lap time? Well, yeah, I mean, you take it to the track, right? No, I don't take it to the track. It's a Ford Taurus. I don't take it to the... Okay, what's your fastest quarter mile? I don't fucking know. It's a Ford Taurus. It's from 1982. You know, whatever the case is, they're not interested in lap times, they're not interested in quarter miles, they're interested in driving from A to B, getting to friends' houses or whatever. They're interested in one type of driving. They're not interested in the other in any way, shape, or form. They don't want to be interested in the other because it's going to break their car. And they don't want to pay for the extra repairs and the extra everything, all the maintenance goes along with it. And it's the same kind of thing when it comes to gameplay styles. Like, some people want to do the race thing. Some people want to go on the track. Some people want to drive to and from with the same vehicle, by the way. Some people want to do all the things at all times, and that's cool too. Some people just want to do track days and they don't want to drive to and from. They call an Uber to go take them across town because they don't want to drive on normal streets and traffic and stuff. They just want to get on a racetrack, and that's it. So there are different styles to different things that involve the same kind of thing. Again, this is my opinion, but it's not necessarily trained to think of. It's just that's what they enjoy. If they don't enjoy the other play style, they don't want to take part in the other play style, or they at least want to be able to have some way of saying, I don't like that play style, but I'll put up with it because there's a motivational aspect on the other side of it that I really want to do. And the problem is, if you take this PvE player and you say, I have to go through PvP to do this PvE objective to get materials to sell to the PvP players that are going to come after me the next time I go to do a PvE objective, that doesn't feel like a fulfilling play loop. Do you know what I mean? Like that doesn't feel like a fulfilling play loop to anyone who's used to any other game. It's going to be a completely different game. Kaylin just said that. I still need to catch up with the rest of chat, but Kaylin just said that I would advise not to use past notions of PvE and apply it to Ashes. They are mutually exclusive, and that's true, but that's part of the problem and the worry that I have. That's part of the worry, and I'm not sure if people are really catching on to that. the worry that I have, every other game that has squashed PvE players and basically said, suck it up, Buttercup, or leave, they choose to leave, and the game dies. Whether it's a slow, agonizing death or a very quick one, that's the worry that I have. And only like thorough testing and proper feedback are we going to figure out if that's going to be the case with how Ashes has stuff set up. So encouraging everybody to give your proper and actual feedback on everything. Test all the stuff, because that's the true worry that I have with Ashes is, are they going to drive away the PvE player base? Because yes, no matter what Ashes is trying to be or destined to be or anything, if that's what it is, will it attract enough people to keep it live? Because there's only so many years that Steven's going to be able to shovel money into something that is not providing returns enough to keep itself alive. And if the responses I've seen with questions about transmog are any kind of an indicator, then it's highly likely that PvP players are not going to be supporting the cash cosmetic. The cash cosmetic shop that's supposed to be providing income for producing future content. Is that really going to keep you afloat? If PvE players are the majority of the ones saying that I love cosmetics, I love going out and earning stuff, but I like to show it off after I've earned it by having a transmog system, and a lot of PvP players are saying I don't like transmogs because it's a threat assessment issue. I can't go on a PvP field and assess immediately the strength of somebody because of the armor that they're wearing. The cash shop is going to be basically not really sold. PvE players are going to be dropping off the monthly subscription. And that's the worry. And that's why I call out PvE specifically, and why there needs to be an attraction for PvE players. Despite no matter anybody's personal feelings on the matter, you have to be able to admit that the money needs to come from somewhere. And it's okay if you don't want to push it to the nth degree and cater to only PvE players and get rid of PvP. I mean, that's great. That's amazing. I love that. Like, balance it. Balance it. Everybody needs some motivation to log in. And if the largest MMO RPG audience is literally being told to go sit in the back of the bus because you don't really matter, just kind of do what's given to you. And I'm not saying Intrepid said exactly that, but when they're being told that them taking part in their PvP combat elder game content, it must involve risk and whatnot, it kind of is like telling them get in the back of the bus and deal with it. But with PvP, the PvP crowd who's trying to look for a PvX experience, they're okay with crushing people, moving them out of the way, kicking them off the cliff, and then going about and doing the PvE content, because that's the reward at the end of their journey, is the PvE stuff. The reward at the end of their journey, but the fun thing is that their journey was nothing but fun along the way. They enjoy the PvP, so they do PvP. They do the PvP stuff and they get to PvE content and they're like, well, now I just got to do this. I had the fun part. I got to do this. And then I get the gear at the end of it too. That's my reward that's going back in my pocket. Whereas the PvP play loop people, they're going through the arduous task of going through PvP. So they have to pay PvP people or get really good at PvP and just hate their life for wanting to have to play through that part. And not saying all PvE players do this. We're going at the extremes, right? We're going for the extremes here. They have to go through PvP to get to PvE to get the reward. Well, now that they paid somebody to guard them, they need to sell the materials that they found to make some profit. But then they need to pay the PvP people to just watch the door. And the stuff they sell is likely going to be bought by some of the same people they paid to protect them, or by the people who are going to be, I don't know, attacking them next week. So Yeah, and that's the thing. One of the potential answers is making PvP risk very high, giving it that heavy social impact. Like, hey, there was this guild that was out there like attacking people in raids. There was somebody engaged with a boss and they took it over, and they beat them down, and then they beat the boss. And you know that boss is only available once every like 2 days or whatever the case is. And it's on a 24-hour random time spawn timer, and so you never know if it's going to be up at all. So this one guild was set up, they were waiting, they were ready, they were prepared, and then they got curb stomped. And that's where it's going to be rough. So I mean, I get what you're saying, what everyone is saying with the PvX in Ashes is not going to be the same as a PvE versus PvP, or even PvE combined with PvP. It's not going to be the same as many people have in their minds. Like even those who are touting the PvX system, because some people just cannot see the absolute devastation that this system and the current design is going to have on the PvE crowd, except for the phrase that really gets old hearing, because everybody knows it and everybody realizes it. They're just trying to give their feedback, which is this game is not made for everyone, and that's okay. It's a great statement when it's put out there once or twice, or as a general statement, but when it's the answer to everything, it becomes a little tiring, and it becomes almost to be I don't even know the right word, but it sounds almost like a dismissal. Like okay, game's not for everyone. That's fine. Like, go your own way, play another game. We don't want you tainting ours. And that always feels very dismissive. But like I said, it's a fear I have. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I fear that going down the yeah, it starts to get to the games for no one thing. Yeah. And that's and Riptide, that's kind of what I'm looking for. Harmony, like PvE, PvP, PvX, like there just needs to be something there for everybody. And something there that's going to draw every playstyle in so that they feel comfortable mingling with the other playstyles to create a proper PvX. No, that's the thing. No, Kaylin, that's the thing, though. It's not that you won't be able to participate in the biggest world bosses. You won't be able to participate in most bosses. Like, most bosses, not be able to participate in the biggest world bosses. I mean, that's a great way to phrase it, is like you won't be able to participate in the biggest world bosses. Like, but think about it. It's an open world game. Every single boss in the entire world is open to anyone to walk in, slay it, and now it's available to nobody. That's a key word there. It's not available to anybody. So you're not competing over that anymore. It's just gone. It doesn't exist for the next random, is what my watch says right now. It just says random over the screen. Random amount of time. Because we don't know. And from what statements have been released in the past, it sounds like it's going to be random timers. And that's the tricky part, right? If it's on a random timer, how do you know? Like, how do you know when you can group up with your friends in guild, with your guildmates who have, I don't know, these what are they, jobs and spouses and what are those things? They're little. You can make them with enough to children, and animals and friends and family. They have all this stuff, right? And they sometimes need to schedule, like, hey, honey, I'm gonna watch the little ones on Tuesdays when you like to do insert activity. If you can watch kids on Thursdays, which are going to be my raid nights or whatever, and they're going to try and log into raid, and they're going to turn into, well, guess there's no raid tonight because there's nothing online for us to do. There's nothing, unless we want to spend our 4 hours of raid time to take 1 hour of travel from here on our node to travel all the way across, where one of our alts right now is logged in near a raid, and it says that nobody's in the raid killing these bosses, so we could go right now and we could get over there. So we have a 1 hour hike to get over there by land on feet and run. We're gonna get there, and hopefully nobody has killed it in the past hour. And if they have, now we have to run an hour home, and we've just wasted 2 hours doing exactly nothing but running across a map. We ran across a map for 2 hours of a raid night and accomplished nothing. And now we're going to go fishing, and we're going to go mining, and we're going to go gathering flowers is what we're going to do. Or we're going to turn homicidal maniacs, and we're going to go slay every caravan we can possibly find, because we are a raid group of 40 people, and a caravan is not likely to have 40 people guarding it. So let's just take every caravan we can, because why the F not? The game obviously wants us to do that. The game obviously wants us to just raid caravans. Yeah, exactly, Kaylin. You're describing exactly my point. You are perfectly and wonderfully adding to my point right there. There are other regions, nodes, continents, and they're all going to have that problem. They're not going to be able to predict being able to do any PvE content. PvP content will be easy peasy. We're just going to go slay people. Caravans exist. Let's find them. Let's do it. There's going to be random events that spawn in the world. There's going to be some PvP there. There's going to be arenas. Arenas are 24/7. I just want to do an arena. So I can log in, go to the arena, do the arena for as long as I wish, right? As long as I want to. Just go to an instanced arena and do my thing and log off. And I have gotten 3.5 hours of PvP in a 4-hour login time frame. Yeah, but that's the problem, Kaylin. They're supposed to be intermingled, right? The repercussions of going red is potentially massive. But you have to think of, Kaylin, the other part of that is you don't have to go red if you instigate the other people to just hit you. You can do so many things to get somebody to just hit you. Purposely, to try to clear you out. If you have... Take it this way. If you have a raid group of 20 people or 40 people, let's say you have a raid group of 40 people, and they are fighting a raid boss actively right now, right? They're fighting a raid boss right now, and you have another raid group of 20 people who are not fighting a raid boss, but they send 5 people in. They send 5 people in to hassle a raid group, or 10 people in to hassle a raid group that's fighting a boss. The raid group sees 5 people trying to attack them and just poking at them, but enough to be very threatening towards the success of their raid boss run. If they die, they're going to lose experience debt. They're going to lose gear degradation. They're going to have to run back to the raid boss, however long of a run that is. Who knows? And plus they're going to have stat degradation from the experience debt. So they have a lot to think about when they say, hey, do we want to just like kick these guys' ass real quick? I mean, they attacked us first, so we're not going to get corruption by killing them. Cool, let's attack them. Well, they do that, and then right around the corner from like down the hallway comes the other 40 people in the PvP group running around the corner to resurrect their dead teammates. And now it's a 40 on 40, but 40 of them are currently engaged in a world boss or raid boss fight. Now it's kind of open warfare, right? And nobody gets corruption. Because one group attacked first, the other group retaliated. This one rezzed their friends. The other group is going to be healing their friends to try to keep them alive so they can take down the raid boss. Now it's nobody gets corruption. There's not one lick of corruption in there. Not at all. unless I'm wrong, and maybe corruption is just given out for the first attacker now, but last I heard you had to actually kill someone without them fighting back. If they fight back, you don't get corruption. But that's exactly it, Kaylin. That's not a PvX game. That's a PvP game that has PvE players to fuel and provide sustenance to the PvP players. That's what that is. That is a PvP game that has PvE targets. It has PvE player targets is what that is. No matter how you slice it, because if you can go and you can PvP and you can get your full fulfillment out of everything, because when you slay someone that has done any harvesting, farming, whatever, and they've gathered materials, you can get drops from them in any way, shape, or form. You can get any gain out of it, then you can survive purely on PvP. But the PvE player, what do they have to look forward to if they don't really like PvP, but they're just trying to play a game that they love everything else about it except for being killed by other players? That's the only thing they don't like. But they're willing to put up with the risk. But what's the benefit for them in the end? What desire, what motivation is there to put up with the risk if they don't like PvP? So if you were to, Ragnarok, if you were to, say, want to try to do PvE content, like endgame content, would you not search the world, the map, as far as you can to find it? Or would you only look locally and tap out if there's nothing within a 5-minute run from you or a 10-minute run from you? Personally, I would search the really hard, the really full map. Oh, yeah, Kaylin. I appreciate you responding the way you have, because typing that much it can be just difficult to word it correctly and get everything in mind and type it correctly and all that. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, to be honest, like, but that doesn't necessarily have to be the thing either, though, Riptide. Like, there can be other avenues of solving this problem, and this might be a gotcha or what have you, if you want to look at it that way. But most of this conversation has been trying to draw out like what people think of PvX as a definition and why it should be a certain way for PvX. But again, as like a PvE fiend, I enjoy PvP as well. I enjoy it. I don't enjoy it as much when it interferes specifically with what I'm trying to do, but that just means that I also want my PvE to interfere with PvP. I want my PvE, when I do something, it has an impact on PvP. PvP players need to experience the same thing that I'm going to experience when I'm trying to do a raid boss and PvP people come in and kick my teeth in. When I do a PvE content, there needs to be the exact same kind of repercussion in some way, shape, or form. Or, and here's the big thing, or there needs to be something else in the game that's keeping me logging in and keeping me coming back. Or else I'm not going to be doing it. So there's other things that can be done. It doesn't have to be specifically in a, well, everything needs to be instanced. That's not the only solution to it. It's not the only solution. There's other things. And real quick before I go into that, so let me catch up on Traxiv says it really depends on how interested the PvE or PvP players are. And real quick, actually, you know what? I need to scroll way back up for a while because somebody made a comment earlier that I meant to read out loud and I didn't. So bear with me, sorry. Yeah, Geolis, and I'm just gonna put this out here because it was a minute ago. It was 30 minutes ago, almost exactly. So Geolis Danor says, I agreed with you. Your point of view in the Zillion video. A guild access dungeon or guild PvE only events would be great. And to bring up what that was referring to, is that if you could, as a guild, go through a raid or a dungeon and you collect enough materials in some way, shape, or form from whatever you're doing in the dungeon or raid, outside of killing the bosses, obviously, is going to be a terrible thing to ask someone to do for this outcome at the end I'm going for. But if you could, yeah, exactly. That's one of two different things I suggested about that. You could go through and collect materials throughout the dungeon. You could compile them into a quest or a turn-in or something, and you have two different options you could do for those, maybe even both. One of them would be to be able to lock the boss room, so that you need to fight, you need to contend, you need to get there, the boss needs to be up and alive, which is who knows how impossible that's going to be, but you need to get there, and then you can turn in low-grade materials to lock the door for up to 5 minutes or until you defeat the boss or die. You can have mid-grade materials that lock it up to 10 minutes or 15 minutes or until you defeat the boss or until you die. And then you can have high-grade materials that are, say, up to 10 minutes or until you defeat the boss. But if you die, you respawn in there. And then, like, legendary or rare materials, the super high-grade materials for locking the door for up to say 30 minutes and until you beat the boss, and that's it. Like, if you die, you can respawn back in the room, but you have earned, because of all your battling in that dungeon for all those materials for that long a time, you've earned a door lock. If you can get there while the boss is up, you've earned a door lock to stay there. Another thing you could do with materials like that is to have your guild hall. You could have a little instanced section of it, almost like an arena, where you could spawn that boss specifically for practice. You get that boss spawned in an arena specifically for practice. You don't get gear degradation, you don't get experience loss, you don't get anything. Maybe not even achievements, like literally nothing. Except the experience fighting the boss. You get the experience of fighting that boss. You get the time to learn the tactics, to learn what you're supposed to do, how you're supposed to do it, how your teammates are going to react and actually play in a raid. That's one of the biggest things that I think everybody who's like full tilt on the PvX, like this is a PvX game boat, you're missing, is that when it comes to a PvE encounter, you're not going to be able to get a good feeling for what your group can do, and how they interact, and how well someone tanks a boss, and how well someone calls raid occurrences, how somebody can heal or predict this or predict that, or how much people move out of certain types of mechanics, etc. Unless you actually do that. If you don't do that, you're never going to know. And every time when you get to see a boss once, you get to run in with your guild and you get to see a boss one time before someone else knocks it out. Because you died, you got experience debt, which degraded your stats. So you're like, well, if we couldn't do it at 100% strength, we're not going to do it at 99, right? So let's go knock out that experience debt and come back and try it again. Or maybe you go over 5%. You hit 5% and then you go burn it off. Who knows how long that's going to take? One death should take you, what, 30 minutes to an hour? Okay, so if you go for 5% and you lose 1% per death, then that's going to be 2.5 hours you got to go grind now, because you died 5 times trying to kill a boss. Voice to chat for Twitch. I mean, in theory, maybe they have it on the phone. That's possibly a thing. But yeah, I mean, that's another thing that could happen, is you can actually get a chance to learn how your group prepares and how the groups will actually fight in a raid. Yeah, and Rag on Rock, that's you're speaking my language right now. You're speaking my language. That's what I'm saying. It's punishing to PvE, like so punishing to PvE. All these PvP objectives in the world, objective-based PvP and organized PvP has 0 experience debt. It might, and I say might because I think it's only Caravans that has gear degradation from death. Might have gear degradation, but it's not going to have experience debt. PvE, everything PvE has experience debt. Even in a normal dungeon, when you get there, before you get geared, until you get geared in any game, how many times have you died to a dungeon when you get there and you first experience it and you start running through? How much experience debt do you think you would gain up if you only lost 1% per death? How soon would you have hit 20% experience debt and lost 20% of your power? Or however much percentage experience debt that is, that degrades you at the current theoretical max of 20%. Is because that's important to make sure we're precise in what we know and clear about what we don't know. Steven said, I believe it was, don't quote me on this, I'll look it up real quick, but I believe it was 3 to 4% of the current level. It was the potential goal for experience debt. Now, and that's when you die, every time you die. No, 2 to 3% of experience for a max level player. So 2 to 3% of the total experience for a max level player. Now, if that's total experience, you're talking about one death is going to be... Can you imagine? I'm going to do some math here, actually. I'm going to do some math. Oh, hey! Thank you, thank you, thank you! Thank you for the gift sub there, friend. Much appreciated. That's one more. Cheers to you. So 2%. So 0.02 times 200 and what was it? 40 hours, I think it was. That is 4.8 hours. Can you absorb that for a quick second? If it is 2 to 3% of the total experience for a max level player, that is 4.8 hours. That's for 2%. And I'm gonna make sure I'm accurate on this. We're gonna go to, okay, leveling time, because Steven had mentioned something that people ran the numbers on, and it came out to, yeah, well, that's the theory. But see, it being much worse in another game to me doesn't mean anything. Kind of in the same way that PvE experience in another game shouldn't matter in Ashes. Like saying that your PvE, like, do you see what I mean? Like, you can't, it's really hard to say, like, you shouldn't base your experience here based on what it was like in another game, and then continue to base your opinions on how another game functioned, you know? It feels really awkward to do that, to me, in my mind. Because to me, saying that another game had it harder, so that's why you just have to play with people, well, just, I mean, really, hence the need to play with people doesn't... I suppose let me explain it like this. Start from the assumption that I'm going to be playing with people, because I am in a guild. I like playing with people. I like playing in an MMORPG, and I'm going to be playing with people. All of the people died. All of the people died, okay? The need to play with other people now does not do anything for that situation because all the people that I was already playing with have died. Because we were in a raid. We all died. All of us. We all played with people and we all died. Now we all need to keep playing with people and keep doing stuff. Because we need to get that experience back. But the problem being is that the current stated that's the low number, by the way, because that was from like 2017 to like 2018 or maybe even 2021. Previously the number was stated to be 2 to 3% of the total experience for a max player. Let me look at this. So now the updated statement, I guess, is 3 to 4% of total experience for that level, subject to change based on testing. And that was from March. So this is why I try to look up the most up-to-date numbers possible, and that's why I said don't quote me on this, but I'm going to look it up now. Because I like to make sure I'm accurate when I'm talking here as often as possible. So that was 2 to 3% of total experience, but now we have no idea what the max level, the time to get to max level is. I do know that it tends to be what, like 15% of the total leveling time almost, it feels like. We'll call it like 5 to 10% of the total leveling experience, but it was an exaggeration. But 3 to 4% of the total experience for that level per death, subject to testing. Oof, it's still gonna hurt. Yeah, come on, let us test everything. Yeah, there's so many things, so many things. Hey, welcome in there, Fupo, by the way. I saw you sneak in, but you know, I was in the middle of doing mental stuff and looking at things about experience and whatnots. Let's see, then you leave that guild if the consequences are high enough. Yeah, and that's, I don't know, man. Hold the gates until New Year. Toxic, you killing me. Don't do that. Don't wish that kind of ick into the world. Don't wish that kind of ick into the world. Let's see, Hidden Dagger in. I think that's taking it to the... See, that's taking it to the other side of the table, though. Because it's not that PvE people legitimately don't want to do PvP. It's that when they want to do a PvE experience, they don't want it to be tainted by PvP when they have no way to taunt back. They have no way to poke back. They're literally on one side of the cage doing their thing, and the PvP folks are on the other side with a stick poking them the whole time they're doing their thing, and they have no way to retaliate except to poke back with the stick. Like, you might say poke back with a stick, but that's the PvP person like screaming out on you. Like, some folks, they're dealing with the PvP in order to experience the PvE. In the same way that there are people, and you can't say they don't exist, they want to live on only PvP, and they don't want to do PvE content unless they have to. If nobody else will do it, they'll do it. But that's it. Because they exist too. Now, if you're gonna say that that's why I don't want to be in a metropolis with PvP people, because they're never gonna want to go to the raid and bring back materials for the node so that we can get stronger, then that's turning the tables. Like, see how weird that sounds? It sounds kind of weird. Like, it's something that needs done. Like, I think PvE people will not have a problem coming back to defend a node. I think they're going to enjoy it more if there's something more in line with what they like to do. And that's not exactly true, by the way, Hidden Dagger. There's plenty of games out there that have had to that allow you to level from 1 to max level doing nothing but PvP, and you get PvP specific gear by using currency earned in PvP. But what you're saying is they exist, right? I mean, as far as I know, you can do that in World of Warcraft, for crying out loud. I did that for a minute and I got absolutely aggravated by how dull it felt. Who cares if it was the fastest? Who cares if it was the fastest? It's doing something you love. You know what? If it was the slowest way to level, I would still choose doing dungeons. Probably. To level the entire way up. I mean, at least for the I want to get this person up and I just want to have fun doing it, I would do it dungeons, because dungeons and raids, I would do it. But if you're just trying to go fastest, I mean, you're literally going the fastest and you don't care about what it is, right? Okay, so if you're competitive, you want to be efficient. So the fastest way to level up, you're going to end up doing it. What if the fastest way to level up was running quests like most games purposely gear it towards? And the PvP person has to deal with it. Cool. Well, what if it was PvP? What if it was PvP? Oh yeah, I'll take the way that's most efficient. You know what? If it's PvP, I'll do PvP all day, every day. I don't like it. It's not a. I'm not a big fan. I mean, it's not that I don't like it. I don't enjoy it as much as PvE. I don't enjoy it as much as PvE. I would rather PvE my way up. I'd rather do dungeons, raids, etc. Some quests in there, but I will guarantee you, if Steven comes out and says the fastest way to level from 1 to whatever the max level is at the time, like 1 to 50 come launch, then I'm a PvP. That's it. I'm not going to touch anything else besides PvP, and I'm going to be stabbing my eyes out at the end of the night, because PvP on that long of a scale bores the bejeebus out of me. Like, it absolutely bores me. Yeah, and I mean, even Traxiv, I mean, that's a point too, but even taking into account just MMORPGs specifically, okay, so Fupo says that just because of the nature of how you would look at the design issue, PvP almost cannot be the fastest way to level. Would be too easy to cheese. Well, not if there were death penalties in PvP, Fupo. If there were death penalties in PvP, wouldn't be easy to cheese it at all, and it would be balanced with PvE. Because if you die, you go down in experience, right? There's a death penalty. There's an experience debt. If you did that in PvP, then nobody would cheese it. Everyone would try their hardest. And yeah, Traxev, that's what I'm looking at right there. Is that there needs to be a good middle ground to a lot of this stuff, and that's why I keep trying to suggest like alternative things that can be done to entice PvE folks into playing instead of just logging on to be the cattle. Oh, that's fine. I don't care about a game being PvE centric. I mean, I don't want the game to be PvE centric. I like the idea of PvX. Yeah, I think you may have missed it, but earlier on, I was actually asking people to define what PvX means. Like, define PvX. What does PvX actually mean? And that's where you had mentioned the, well, no, you were here for that because you gave that definition. Jeepers. But yeah, that's where you had said, you know, PVX is you can go outside your door and you can do PvE or PvP, but that's not quite what PVX really means. Whereas, Steven said you gain experience during PvP, Galen. If you can gain experience for PvP, that means you can level with it. So, I mean, it's there. It may not be the fastest. We don't know what the fastest is going to be. They haven't really said anything necessarily about the fastest way to level. There may have been like a passing comment here or there, but yeah, he's definitely said that you gain experience from PvP. Well, it depends on how you define gaining experience. I mean, you gain experience in a weapon mastery, sure, that's horizontal leveling. But gaining experience in your character adventuring level, like there is vertical leveling in PvP. Like that's what I'm saying. There is, Steven has already stated, you can level he calls it your adventuring class with PvP. There's your adventuring class, which is your character level, like 1 to 50. Then there's your artisan class, which is your crafting, your gathering, your processing. Those are separate, and who knows what else they're considering classes. There might be your religious class and your social organization class. Who know? I don't know what all they're calling classes, but yeah, your adventuring class is what Steven's been calling it, which is your character's core level, like what you consider reaching max level in game. Is like the 1 to 50 grind, and for that, yes, you'll be able to gain that experience in PvP. We don't know how fast it's going to be compared to everything else, but yeah, you can level while crafting too. It's going to be much slower for sure, because your main reason for crafting is to gain your crafting levels, your artisan class levels, but yeah, doing some quests and whatnot that are related to crafting, gathering, processing are going to be getting you experience. But it's and that's the crux, right? Is to try and find that balance. Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I love people interacting on chat, because man, the good conversations only happen when people give varied viewpoints. If everybody has the same viewpoint, the conversation is very quick, right? It's hey, what do you guys think about this? I think it sucks. And everyone else just says, yeah. And then it's over. And then you don't really have a discussion. You don't really talk about it. Oh, I love me too, Lloyd. Thank you. I know it's not what you're looking for, but you're gonna have to wait. You're gonna have to wait. Anticipation. Thank you, Riptide. You're fantastic, man. This is like great day. Thank you. That's like the 8th one you've given away today or something. 5th, 6th, somewhere between 5 and 12. I think it's 9 at this point. Let me see. 8. No, it is 8. Ooh. It's greatly appreciated. But no, Lloyd, I love you too, Pookie. I love you too. Thanks for stopping in and saying hi. Yeah, thank you, Dagger. And thank you for your viewpoint as well. I mean, disagreements, they happen. Yeah, he said the thing. Yeah, disagreements happen as long as they're disagreements and everyone's sharing their opinions. I mean, in the moment, people may get up like a little huffy, because that's what happens when you're trying to defend your opinion and all. And that's fine. That's fine if people get huffy for a quick minute. But at the end of the day, it's sharing opinions. Right now, it's all we're throwing random thoughts into the wind about a game that we haven't really played yet. You know what I mean? Alpha 2 still hasn't even come around. Like, you guys heard all of our inputs on the Node Wars thing. Like, the Node Wars were very focused. We didn't even have time to really explore a lot of the stuff that we're talking about, which is why we don't have an opinion on that stuff that we can you know, give you from the Node Wars, because it was so like, let's log in, let's do this, let's go. Getting me closer to the bottle eagle rare. Okay. Noted. It's on the list. There's a list over here on the side of the monitor. Already written there. Already written it there. But yeah. So I mean, in the end, like we're all giving great theories, and the reason we're having these good conversations is because so many people are really looking, hopefully, towards the next great thing that will soak up the next 7 to 17 years of their life, right? Like we're all looking for that next big MMO that's going to grab our attention and be, for lack of better phrasing, worthy of our time, you know? Like there's so many games that come out where people just throw it out there, they say, hey, here's a thing, you'll enjoy it, we know it, and then no, we don't, because it's not at all what we were looking for. You did this thing and you did that and you did this other thing, and man, how did you miss so hard? How did you miss it so bad? But Steven and company, they're all saying these magical words. It's magical words, man. Because even though, like, I've talked this entire episode about having these fears about PvE and this and that and the other, and no matter what, even with those involved and with every other issue I've had with Ashes, I'm still looking forward to this game in a big way. I'm still gonna play it. I mean, Intrepid, you can close your ears on this because you should totally not be knowing this part, but I mean, I'm gonna play it no matter what issues I have the game when they fix or they change or they update to like my way of desiring it to be, because as a whole the project sounds amazing. There's some great stuff coming in, there's some stuff that's questionable, sure, but it balances it out. There's everything to be tested, and they've already stated that there's a lot of stuff that they might change based on testing. Who knows? But as long as they keep that risk versus reward, they keep that grand scale, they keep that world building by people, I think it's going to pan out pretty darn well. So much stuff to do, and so much stuff to talk about with it all. So with all of that, like that's what generates good conversations. People loving it and caring about it. Well, hey, Peon, you have yourself a great night. Thanks again for stopping in. It's much appreciated. Everyone over here on Twitch, just like click on the name and take a visit over there. Peon's a great guy. Great conversations. He has a couple other folks hanging out with him from time to time. Typically Paranaut. Almost every time I've logged on there, I think I've seen Paranaut except for like a first couple. You like the way I look at stuff? Like just peeking around at all the different monitors? Maybe I'm seeing ghosts. They're creeping around my house. But, oh. So, thank you everyone for conversations. And yeah, Oracle, not 17 years. I want this thing to see me now. Nice. But yeah, I think it's probably about time for me to run away. It is about time for me to run away. Fupo, yes, ghost. But yeah, thank you everybody for hanging out. Thank you for stopping by and just contributing to conversation. I know I've kind of already said that, but I'm going to say it again. I am right now looking for somebody to raid. If you, and by you I mean anybody here in chat, has a suggestion for someone to raid over to, please do a guide the raid or just let me know. If you do submit a guide to the raid, you will have priority. But otherwise, I'm probably going to take us over to Turgo Live. Or Thogli. You know what? Let's do Thogli, because Thogli's doing apparently some Dunhold lore and more. And if he's covering some actual lore stuff here, then that might be the thing. Either way, he's talking Ashes instead of taking you over to somebody who's going to eventually be streaming Ashes, but currently is playing a different game. So, Thogli Dwarf time. All right. I heard a couple Thoglis there, so that's where we're going. Let me get that set up. Raid that guy. Hey, raid has been created. All right. Well, as you folks can see, we've made tremendous progress in Hogwarts today. I have successfully moved from that yellow arrow, 722 yards, feet, meters, some form of measurement, 722 of them, over to this glyph, and we are now facing in a different direction. So, great things have been done. Great conversations have been had. You guys are amazing. Every one of you. Would not be here without you. Time is your most valuable asset. Do not ever let anyone convince you to forget that. Right? If you're giving your time to somebody, it's valuable. Make it mean something. Alright. Everyone, you have yourselves a great night, and we'll catch you around next time. Bye.